Here we go. Make sure we're live and backstage. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? How y'all feeling today? Check something. Make sure we're coming in clear. Or talk for me real quick, Pong.
Morning. Welcome to Living Splitscreen. Let's go. We got things to talk about this morning. Woo-wee.
Perfect. Looks like we're coming in crispy. Looks like I'm sounding crispy. Are you guys feeling crispy this morning? I don't know if you guys are. You
I
guys
don't know if it's a
let me
good
know.
thing or a bad thing to feel crispy.
To feel crispy? No, you need to feel like a nice piece of cooked bacon. You said muted. Can't hear it, Jacob?
Yeah, he's probably muted on his side.
Please let me know if you can hear me. Morning. Yeah,
Oops.
I got it on my
Jacob
side.
said oops.
Okay, perfect. I was about to make sure. I was about to say, hey man, let me. Hey, I went through and checked all my settings. It was like, hey, what's going on? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How y'all feeling? Welcome to Living Splitscreen, your Saturday morning show. Yeah, welcome to the backstage. We're sitting here chopping it up, getting some things ready for you all. And we greatly appreciate everybody who's here early, as it may be considered by some people. Me and Pong were just having some conversation about the different games that are coming out. Having some conversation, of course, about Harry Potter, which we're definitely going to talk about today. This is my current game of the year. Again, with all the games that are around it and games that I could draw comparisons to. Even as somebody who I do consider myself more so as a lighter fan of Harry Potter. Again, the movies after the third one kind of put me to sleep. And I mean, it is what it is. I think it was after The Prisoner of Azkaban, actually, kind of started trailing off for me a bit. But in the books, of course, I'm always going to go back to as the best pieces of content to enjoy it. But this game does something for, if you're just a fan of magical worlds, mythical worlds, a good story, you're just an RPG fan, especially as Western RPG. I think they hit a lot of the right notes out of the park, so I can't wait to talk about that today. And then just looking down the line, we're looking at, coming off the heels of Hi-Fi Rush, for an example. Yeah, I seen that Jacob were there talking about the enemy within, Evil Within, or whatever the case might have been teased. Had a teaser for Hi-Fi Rush in it or something to that nature. I heard about that. But we're also just talking about the different games that are going to be coming out, man, especially early this year. And it's like you have so many like high quality games that are releasing kind of behind each other. And overall, I think we're already starting as better than we did last year. 100% on every front, not just this platform or that platform. I think on every front. As far as games go, there's a lot of content to be had.
Yes, sir. It's a magical start to 2023. Magical. 100%. Pun intended.
I like what you
Yeah, no, it has been. I mean, again, we've had games performing above what we thought they probably would do. We've only got one that's performed under a little bit, which is Forspoken, obviously. But again, it's one of those games that's a mixed review game.
Right.
So not necessarily as bad as a lot of people would like to make it be. And I think a lot more people are jumping into that game and enjoying it. And I think that game, once it gets patched up and fixed, and maybe once it goes to other consoles, we'll have a second life down the road in a couple years or whatever it is. But that's the only one that's underperformed. Everything else that's come out is now overperforming. And then you throw in surprises like Metroid Prime remaster coming out of the blue, shadow dropping. Of course, Hi-Fi Rush being the first to shadow drop, which was a brand new game, brand new IP from Tango. Yeah, 2023 is off to one hell of a start. And, again, take it or leave it. Jez has got his hand on a few upcoming games. We can make guesses on what that is.
Yeah,
he talked about it at Xbox 2. We know one of them is Wild Hearts. We know one of them is Wolong. He pretty much confirmed it yesterday. We probably believe the other one is Atomic Heart. And those are all coming within a span of a month. And he said that they are freaking ridiculously good. He's having a great time right now. So that if all three of those come out too, on top of everything, we didn't even talk. Monster Hunter Rise came out and crushed. I know it's an
so.
older game, but it showed up improved on current gen hardware, and they actually did put a lot of work in it. Right, 120 frame modes, graphics were looking great for coming over from a Switch. So yeah, I mean, it feels like this is the first solid start to a year we've had since before the pandemic. Right, Steel?
Right.
This is like the first one where we don't have broken. All these games are not broken.
No.
These games are probably some of the highest levels of polish we've had in a long time from a lot of games.
That's the important. That's the important part. Yeah, that's the very important part right there. Whereas we were coming off the heels, especially last year, saying, "Man, I'm just tired of getting games that are halfway done or need to be pushed back." And now we're getting games to where it seems like, especially at least this beginning of this year, Forspoken probably isn't the best example. But outside of that, you definitely have your kind of ones you got to leave out. But outside of that, it seems like across the board, we're getting back to at least some semblance of what we used to be used to have back in the day, where when they had to put it on the CD, it had to be good to go. Now we're seeing that in our digital games, which is super dope. I think that's one of the most impressive things about Hogwarts for me is that although, like for me, an example on PC, I am having issues running the game with ray tracing. It's also, I can understand how this game can be extremely graphically demanding. I'm playing on Ultra 1080 and, pretty much without ray tracing now. But even when I had it on, like I was sending DMs in the background, I was hitting that crisp 60 and it was running good. But just to see the performance that the consoles are getting also, it's some aspects of it, it's kind of laughable because it's like, well, damn, if I'm playing at these settings, where they got the console set at, and that the fact that the consoles still look good for what they are is extremely impressive to me. Because regardless if people want to accept it or not, there should and will always forever be a delta between like PCs and what consoles can do, especially in visual fidelity. There should be, right? There's a price difference. The way games are made is a little bit, there's more options there. But I think it also speaks more to what I'm saying, where I do think they focus more so on the detail of things, making sure they had those higher quality textures while also throwing in, even if it's a low quality ray tracing, the fact that you even included it and are able to get it to work as smooth as it is. And I know people are having some frame stuttering, Pong. I know you don't really see it because you got VRR and whatnot. And then
you can tell.
Right. And then
I'm uncapped, so
Gotcha. And then other people are kind of like, oh yeah, we kind of see it here and there too. I don't have VR, so it's like I can understand that, but all things considered, I think we're in a good spot.
Extra credit to the team for giving us the option, Steel. Extra credit for them actually putting the time and effort into the performance. And again, that's something that can be patched. But if you just lock your frames, if you go into performance mode and get a locked 60, Mav was playing for a couple hours yesterday. No problems at a lock 60. I know there's going to be dips here and there every once in a while. But for a team this size to pull off what much bigger teams complain and say can't be done, or we just don't have the time, or the systems can't do this, for this smaller team to come out of nowhere and give us the options that they have, which is incredible on console, man, the extra credit to them for doing it, man. And again, that stuff will be smoothed out. And again, I know everybody has different sensitivity to performance issues, just like bugs. Everybody has a different sensitivity. But in game, outside of a little bit of pop-up here and there, outside of a couple things that I've noticed, like in cutscenes, some of the pixels doing funny things when somebody's talking or whatever. Very little minor bugs compared to what we've seen lately out of most games. So again, extra credit to this team for what they've done. I mean, it's incredible. So, but we'll get into it.
Yeah,
we both have a lot to say.
Talos is talking about it. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it during the show because I definitely want to give people some background. And MG, I mean, you say one of the most powerful statements that I believe also, and that's, zero knowledge of the Harry Potter universe, and he loves Hogwarts Legacy. Because at the end of the day, it's an RPG, right? At the end of the day, you're just experiencing the world. And I think the game kind of sells itself short sometimes too, because I know it does show the outside and all that, but you do first, few hours, 4 hours, so on. I mean, it's all going to depend on your experience, but you can spend some time just staying within the castle.
Yep.
And but I'll also tell you, get to a point to where it's like, okay, maybe I've searched enough and I need some things so I can search some more. So when I come back, I'm going top to bottom again. That's what I found myself doing. I've probably been through the castle quite a few times and still feel like I haven't been everywhere yet. I'm missing something. Certain locations or whatever the case. But it's really dope, man. Again, as a light Harry Potter fan, I couldn't have been more impressed. Of course, I went Gryffindor, not because I have main character complex or whatever else people try to say. It's just Gryffindor also has their insignia as a lion. Well, it's a griffin, but I had to go with that. I had to rock with the Leos, man.
Give me that snake, baby. Give me that snickety snake coming in.
And I like
Slytherin,
the way,
baby.
I like the way that red and yellow be looking together.
Yeah, you do like that. That's more important to you than anything.
Hey, I gotta make sure my fit's looking nice. So, and then also for everybody who's watching live, again, thank you all for joining us. If you are watching live, there's not going to be any spoilers in this gameplay. When I was recording gameplay, and I've been doing this thing too, when I've been listening to other audio platforms or whatever, I tend to just get lost in doing side mission stuff to where you don't really have to be paying attention. So that's another dope thing about this game that I've been enjoying. But you'll see a lot of side mission things, maybe solving some puzzles, just exploring, kind of appreciating the world. Overall, I tried to get a good aspect. I also was trying to hone in some of my recording settings from when I was getting gameplay. So you're going to see a lot of that. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully it's coming through clean. It looks crispy on my end. And again, the game is just remarkable in a lot of aspects, man. It's a crime for it to be as detailed as it is in some aspects. And it's impressive. To me. And again, people can say, oh, well, there's these God of War Ragnarok's impressive. Yeah, but God of War Ragnarok didn't keep me invested after the third hour. This is like, okay, even without being like Harry Potter based, it's like, what's over here? Like, that's more impressed by how they've kept that interest there. I definitely suggest it, but we'll get into that for sure. Pong, is there anything else that you want to give to the people before we go live for our audio list?
No, sir. Let's get this show on the road to start everybody's Saturday morning. Thank you all for being here. Chat, you guys are all looking lovely already. Got 30 plus in there already. Ooh. You guys are coming through. As always, please hit that like button. Share it out if you got a chance, because we are about to get the party started as Steel hits the live button. So get ready for your morning music, and then you'll get the two beautiful fellas coming at you. Let's go.
Facts. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, again, thank you all for being here this morning. But this is enough of us behind the scenes. Let's get to the show so we can pitch, our spiel to the audio listeners.
108 right? Dragons. Let's go.
What up, buddy? How you feeling? All right, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and beautiful people, how are you guys doing this fine Saturday morning right here with Living Splitscreen, episode 91? And you're here with the most non-console eccentric platform that you can find probably in these Twitter streets, where you got two guys that wear their heart on their sleeve and talk about the gaming industry in ways that only your mom could imagine. And if unfortunately you don't have a mom, but hopefully someone of your family members could imagine, but enough of that foolishness. I am one of your hosts, Steel Rain. You can tell I'm already feeling it, diving deep, neck in. No. But I am Steel Rain, one of the hosts of Living Splitscreen. Again, we are a non-console centric platform. We cover everything going on within the gaming industry. Right here with Living Splitscreen, we believe in that RTS approach along with that ECP. Starting with the RTS, though, you got to pull yourself out of the world. Look at the darker crevices of the map. Explore those things. Pull those resources together and build up that foundation of to reach those 3 billion gamers that we're all trying to reach, potentially, right? Or that Phil is trying to reach, or that Xbox is trying to reach, or that maybe we're just all trying to talk to mobile gamers, apparently. But again, I don't know. That's what people are saying. Oh, you say 3 billion gamers. Oh, you're talking about those mobile guys. Who cares about that? And ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you've been living under a rock, but I think more and more people are caring about the mobile front. Just saying. And it's, again, there's quality games to be played everywhere. But don't let me limit your experience. But also, ECP is an educated consumer's perspective, because we're not lawyers, we're not attorneys, we're not nobody, we're not in the industry, we're not game developers. We're just consumers who have been gaming for quite some time, who feel as though we have our heart or our fingers on the pulse of what some of the industry may be thinking, what some of these bigger companies may be thinking, especially with our years of not only customer service, but sales, and just having other industry knowledge that we can kind of pull from to bring you a well-thought conversation on a Saturday morning about gaming. At least I believe that's what we do here. I'm pretty sure Pong would corroborate that with me. But speaking of which, I have to introduce my brother from another, the X-Men, who is uncanny, and he is not Cyclops. My guy, the hitter, the one and only, Pong Steel. How you feeling today, brother?
Quick hitter. Let's go. Let's go. Listen up, everybody. We are back, Living Splitscreen live on Saturday morning, February of the 11th. Thank you all for joining us. This is going to be a fun show. Got some stuff to get into. Again, as we were talking behind the scenes, a magical start to 2023 that seemingly is not going to stop. But currently speaking, you know what it is, folks. I think you guys have seen the Twitter streets out here. Everybody is enjoying Hogwarts, except for maybe a couple publications and some loudmouth, hypocritical clowns out here who want to bully everybody. But we'll get into that as well. But no, man, it's been a great week, Steel. Great to be back with you, brother, again. Busy. We haven't even talked much in the DMs at all this week. It's been crazy. You've been all up in Hogwarts Legacy. And you've been getting there. You've been getting it. But yeah, no, that's all I've been doing this week. Again, I got the deluxe edition that I told you all. I had it pre-ordered. I was on this train long before the reviews came out. Both Steel and I were. We both thought this game looked great. There was a lot of questions about it, but I hopped in. Right away. Monday night when I got home, went to New Zealand and popped it in and got into it. And so this is all I've been doing all week is Hogwarts. Every little chance I get. So that's what I've been doing. I'll save it because I'm sure Steel will just roll. I think that's all you've been playing too, right? Yeah. So I mean, I guess we can just roll into it here and do our normal intros where we get into what we've been playing and kind of go through it. But since we both have been playing the same thing this week, let's just combo it and let's get this Hogwarts Legacy talk going, man, because what Avalanche WB, and again, don't confuse this. This is not the Avalanche. Again, we went through this. A lot of us were confused when Contraband was announced, when we started talking about maybe, Microsoft acquiring Avalanche. This is not that Avalanche, okay? This is not those guys. There are Avalanche two Avalanche. Yeah, so this is fully owned by WB. Portkey Games that you see when you fire this game up. Portkey Games is the division, the publishing division that WB created to handle the Harry Potter IP specifically.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. So that is the division.
That tells me some bigger things a bit, right?
Yeah.
If they continue down this train, right?
Yeah, because it's such a big IP, right? But Avalanche WB is the studio that is doing this. And listen, they knocked this out of the park. This is a grand slam for a team like this. This is a team, again, go through their history. They've been around for a very long time. Obviously, probably not a lot of the same people from way back in the day. But let's just go more recent history. 2007, Hannah Montana's World Tour, right? Hannah Montana's World Tour game. Then you get into more Disney stuff. I believe they did one of the Toy Story games, right? Then they did Disney Infinity. They worked on Disney Infinity. Their last game prior to Hogwarts Legacy was Cars 3, for God's sakes. Now, I'm not going to take anything away from those games. Those are Disney games. They went out, they did what they were asked to do. But you've heard me and Steele talk about the evolution of studios and studios that have been around for a while and how they grow as a team. And I'm sure there's some, big time veterans within this team that have been doing this for quite a while. And that's where the questions came from. People said, well, Avalanche WB, look what they've done. Like, there's no way they're going to pull this off. A big open world game. There was people out here claiming that maybe what they were showing us, even in the dev kind of diaries, the dev directs, the dev showcases that they were doing for this game. Well, this can't, maybe this is, they're just showing us off a bunch of smoke. Like this is not going to come out looking like this. It's not going to come out performing. They're not going to be able to pull off the open world aesthetic. There's too many issues. Look at all these other teams that have failed in trying to pull this off. How are they going to do this? Guess what? They did. And they did it to a level that there's a lot of studios out there wish they could pull it off this way. The level of detail in this game is second to none. We're talking about, and I think rightfully so, I'm not going to say one for one, but they're up there with Rockstar when it comes to a Red Dead Redemption and the level of detail that's in that.
Yeah, and the quality.
The quality. The little things that make this atmosphere come alive when you're walking through the castle or you're in Hogsmeade, you don't see that in every game or even close to every game. The little things. Again, I'm not even fast traveling. You can open up fast travel points all over the place. I'm not even fast traveling yet. Now, there might come a point where I start doing that, but as of right now, and I'm 15 plus hours in, I just continue to walk everywhere or run everywhere because I'm afraid I'm going to miss something. Walking by a table and seeing a chessboard play chess by itself through magic, watching a teapot pour tea into cups, all the little details that go into the rooms, every room of the castle, no matter where you are, all the little details throughout that make this feel like an extension of the universe that we saw on the big screen or you read in the books. And again, as like Steele said, not the biggest Harry Potter fan. Now, I don't hate Harry Potter. I watched all the movies because my kiddo was big into them. I watched them multiple times. I read the first few books of Harry Potter. Harry Potter to me is light fantasy. I'm more into high fantasy, Tolkien's, all that kind of stuff. So nice. Harry Potter, I enjoyed Harry Potter for what it is, but it's not like I was deep diving the lore. It's not like I was, shouting my house name out from the rooftops, claiming that I'm all Slytherin for life, blah, blah, blah. None of that. I wasn't that guy. When
I compare Harry Potter to like fantasy worlds, it's more of like a more realistic take outside of the monsters or some of the beasts that they involve. Yeah. But it is semi more realistic when you think about Merlin, and they bring out, of course, they got Merlin trials in here.
Of course.
But when you bring up Merlin and the dragons and all that, like you already have an idea of where they're trying to kind of place you in that Braveheart kind of time, right?
Sure.
Where you just have a feeling or a better understanding of where the timeline that they're trying to use, which is it has some basis of reality while also not, which high fantasy doesn't, because it's kind of over the top like a Final Fantasy.
Right. And you just don't get the same. Again, for me, the lore is deep in Harry Potter, of course, but it's not to the level of a Tolkien, right? It's not. No,
it's not.
And it's not supposed to be. This was made for kids, right? This was made for kids. This was never, again, sure, it appeals to everybody, but it was never supposed to be that way. But again, that's not dismissing it at all. What I was just kind of saying is that I didn't come into this game buying this game because I'm a Harry Potter fan, right? I didn't buy this game because, this is the Harry Potter game I've been waiting for my whole life. Like there is millions of people that have been waiting for a game that was going to do this. So I'm coming into it with a baseline knowledge, but no like real fandom over it, right? So I'm just walking into this thing like a new RPG, like a new open RPG, open world RPG, which I love.
Right.
So I'm walking into this and I'm seeing things, Steel, that draw you in at every turn, at every corner. Again, what Gene was talking about in the chat pregame, behind this backstage, that you pointed out, his comment that he knows nothing about Harry Potter and is loving this. That's the greatest part about what this team has done for me, Steel, is that they replicated, which is very hard to do, but they replicated the magic, and again, that's pun intended, they replicated the magic that J.K. Rowling created when she first wrote the series. And again, whatever you guys think about J.K., I don't give a shit, okay? I don't care about any of that. We're not talking about that now. You can't, whatever you think about her, what she created was a worldwide phenomenon. And that doesn't happen every day.
No,
but this team, this team, through the writing, through the character development, through the atmosphere, somehow, and again, it's very hard to copy somebody, somehow found that magic. And you can tell that this team is passionate. These are Harry Potter fans working on this game that brought all of that knowledge and that fandom into this game and replicated what JK did, because just like M. Gene said, what I'm seeing now is people hopping in that had zero interest or was like, Harry Potter ain't my thing. I care about this.
Good.
You're seeing more people on Twitter hop in and go, God damn, this game is good.
Again, the first hour does it for me.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. The opening. One of the best openings. Again, no spoilers here for anybody who has not touched it yet. But the opening introduction to this game is how it should be done everywhere. When you think about game design, game creators going forward should look at, and it's been done before.
Yeah.
Skyrim had an amazing opening.
Yeah.
Right? There are games that do this, but to come from this team with no expectations, they pull off one of the greatest intros, in my opinion, to a game. Not only giving you an introduction to the story, which is exciting from the get-go, gets you wrapped into the story, shows off the mechanics, gives you the basic mechanics, all in one. But you don't feel like you're being like, oh, this is the tutorial.
Yeah.
You don't feel like, they're just showing me what I got. No. You are wrapped from the jump into this game, into the story. The characters, again, off the charts. The character writing is freaking amazing. The acting is ridiculously good. And all of that draws you into this world, whether you have knowledge of this world or not. Of course, if you're a Harry Potter fan, you're going to get a bunch of Easter eggs. You're going to get a bunch of little things. All the stuff in your imagination that wasn't shown in the movies that you've always thought, hey, what would that look like?
Right.
Or how would this work? You're getting all of that in this game as well. But even if you're a person with none of that, it's so spectacular how it was done. All the little flourishes with how things appear in the world, how you cast your spells, all of that feels natural. It feels like, this makes sense for the world. There's nothing that stands out like, what is that? What do they do there? Right. No. It fits within this whole feeling that you have about what this world would actually be like in real life if you could experience it. And again, not every studio does that with their games. Not every studio pulls that off. And all of this gets back to the point of why this game is hitting the way it is. It's not just because it's Harry Potter. Of course, that's an instant. It's millions of fans instantaneously interested, right? It is. But again, for all of those of us that aren't the biggest fans ever, or the people that have never been a fan of Harry Potter, to be able to pull those people in, that magnetism, again, there's got to be some kind of underlying specialness to this game to make that happen. And Avalanche WB, hats off to them, have done that. And again, as I was saying in the background, it's all the little, yes, I have my nitpicks. I have my criticisms. Of course, not everything's perfect. No game's perfect. There's little things that I can pull out. But the polish that they showed in this game is unbelievable. It's so damn good. I mean, again, there's little things that can be fixed, and they're going to fix them. But to offer me as well the options to control what performance levels I want on my console, to give me the options that they have, to simply give me the option to uncap my frame rate if I want to.
Yeah. Oh.
Where other developers have come out here and complained, oh, Series S is a potato. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't do this. We can't do that. It's always we can't. This studio, who's done all Disney games prior to this, creates a whole open world. Yes, single player. Yes, I know it doesn't have multiplayer, but highly detailed, more detailed than most games.
Yeah.
This entire world. And oh, by the way, if you got a 120 hertz monitor or TV, guess what? We're going to give you 5 different options, plus allowing you to control, if you want to uncap your frame rate, plus turning off all the stuff or on all the stuff that you want. We're going to offer you that, which hardly any other dev studio has taken advantage of this system. So again, that's just a cherry on top to all of this.
Right.
This game, depending on how this year goes, Steel, and we've talked about this plenty of times, 2023 is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be ridiculous. And if everything keeps hitting this way, look, we said it last year.
I think it will.
Yeah, we said it last year.
Everybody.
The Game of the Year awards
it's going to be tough this year.
Stupid.
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be stupid. On top of all the nonsense behind this game, which, again, we know the Keeleys can get a little political on certain aspects because it's the reviewers, it's the writers, it's the journalists who vote on that stuff. But this game, even right now, should be in the conversation at the end of the year. And I think people are still going to be talking about this game.
It needs to be at the front line. It definitely needs to be at the front line.
Hi-Fi Rush, and now this out the gate, Steel, special. Go ahead, Steel. Give me your opinions on Harry Potter.
I want to start off by answering Dip Down Anime's question. He said, is this a Mass Effect Fable scenario where you can be good or evil? Is there just one path? Yes, you can be good or evil. You can either be, you can make, but
it doesn't do a whole lot.
It does affect the end story.
Okay.
There's apparently, again, and I haven't beat the game, but from what I've seen, and I've been trying to avoid spoilers as much as I can, but apparently there is an evil ending and there's a good ending.
Okay.
So
I did not know that.
From what I've seen, and again, I've tried. If I'm incorrect, and hey, I'll be fine in being incorrect. But from what I have seen people do an evil version, and I've seen people do a good version.
Okay.
But again, it's also very limited because I'm not trying to give myself any spoilers, as many people will try to go into people's comments, even when you're just dropping random pictures on Twitter and trying to spoil the entire game for you. Now, in most cases, I don't care about those types of things like that because it typically won't keep me playing. There's
no upfront morality meter though.
No, there's
and
not.
You could and the responses when you're talking to NPCs, there's kind of like a bad one and there's a good one.
Yeah.
And they both wind up in the same spot no matter which one you pick.
Yeah, it's not at the depth.
It's not like Mass Effect.
It's not at that same depth.
Yeah.
Nowhere close. Also, Mass Effect's a completely different style of game to where it literally everything kind of carries over from game to game too. So it all kind of affects the next world. And that's how you could tell that they
should do that with this one, by the way.
I hope they do. Where they kind of expand upon the second game and give you more choices. They're kind of leading up to. I've been saying that from the very jump, from the first 20 hours of the game. I need a second game from them, and I need it because you have so many possibilities to have a Mass Effect kind of effect, no pun intended, to kind of happen because literally, as light as the choices might be in this one, you can go into the next one and have it be more interactive. You could have it be more in depth as far as your character goes, especially because you're in a magic world and the way they make the tailoring also feel like if you go get a haircut, change your eye color, things like that back at Hogsmeade, you could literally change your appearance whenever you wanted to. So it could they could really play that off really well. Hey, glad to see you back, especially with you being a 5th year. I don't know if they go into your 6th year while you're in this game, but they have the prime opportunity to say, okay, 5th year, 6th year is your last year, and boom.
Or maybe you come back as a professor.
Or maybe that's a possibility, and now you're teaching, and now you have an even bigger role, because we know that the professors, they end up going through a lot more. They end up being in the field. That's the other unique thing about a lot of the professors that you meet in this game, is you can tell that there's something else behind them, right? They've been through something, and you can also tell that this game is a darker Harry Potter. For sure. There's a lot of upfront. You do have that more of the lightheartedness from the school and everything. But once you get outside of it, it does become dark, and it does focus on dark arts. And overall, I've never been one to be like, oh, Harry Potter is necessarily meant for kids, because even looking back on it and remembering some of the books that I've read, it touches it consistently touches on some very adult things. Especially when they talk about death. But
the original aspect. When it grew bigger, she took it to a more mature, but she never knew that.
No, that
she
first
book wrote it was young adult.
Yeah, that first book had some depth to it, where it potentially got there, but you could tell it was in that teeny kind of phase, right?
Yep.
Nick says, haha, Steel threw out all the gear on his character, got him looking like Skeletor fused with Doctor Who. You got damn right. I had to have, once I found out I could put a mask on my character, I had to put a mask on. I couldn't put a beard on, so I had to throw the mask on. And then the hat, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because I'm in a wizarding world. I want to have the top hat, or I gotta have a wizard hat. Like, I don't know what it is. I can't put on a normal hat. I've unlocked so many headpieces, bro, and I always go back to the wizard hat. I got like this scarecrow, like straight out of Wizard of Oz, fucking wizard hat on right now, and it's not in this clip, but what I have on right now, and I've changed my jacket, my whole get up, like, bro, I feel like I'm the flyest wizard out here. I'm just saying, I'm out here getting it in. I'm just getting it in.
There's been a lot of fashion shows on Twitter so far with this game, man.
There have
a lot of different looks.
Again, another thing and I'll get into my thoughts. Another thing that they added in. It's that whole transmog system. That's something that people usually don't throw in until DLC later on. It's up front,
right? They
knew. That's what I mean by attention. People who cared about games and wanted people to have the best experience possible made this game. But there's no way. Yeah, I was trying to throw in a snapback. I ain't gonna lie to you. I haven't got any good snapbacks yet. And then with my mask now, because of the way certain wizards hats fit, some of them sit real low, so it covers the mask just right. Especially the new mask that I got. Oh man. But yeah.
Look how excited he is over the fashion. I love it, Steel.
Customization. You got it again. This is what RPG should be about, right? Role playing games. Have me role play within this world. Make me feel part of it, and they did that on every front. And I'll start kind of from my beginnings of it. And again, I'm not going to give any
spoilers
or any details that kind of allude to other things. At least I'm going to try not to. But like Pong mentioned, from the very, and like I mentioned, from the very jump, it is a grabbing game, personally. Within the first hour, you find that you're not enjoying what you're experiencing, then you might as well just refund the game. Yeah, I'll be completely honest with you. If you're on the fence, you have a question, you don't like this type of game, but you want to jump into it for maybe FOMO reasons, play the first hour and see how you feel. Because if the first hour doesn't do it, then the rest of the game's not going to do it. Because it only gets progressively better, at least in my opinion. There was some things, I've touched on some negatives and also kind of weave in some positives. Because you gotta lead with a little bit of hate sometimes, and follow up with some love. There can be some moments. Now, again, this isn't how I necessarily personally feel, but I can understand. There are some moments that can be a bit of a lull, right? If you're not someone who likes to explore, if you're not someone who wants to take in the world, then you're not someone who wants to try to see what all details that you could possibly be missing out, then I can understand how some of the experience could be kind of boring to you. Maybe you don't like the school setting. I know I shout out to Randall Jazz. Jazz was talking about that yesterday. He was like, man, I just don't like this whole school thing. I'm already, it's a British school kind of environment. I've already been through that. Like, I don't want to deal with that. And it's like, I get that. And I thought I was going to be a little bit turned off by the school side of things too.
Very short segments though.
It is. You're really not doing. It's not
Right.
nothing that you're spending. Oh, now I got to spend an hour in this class learning
No.
It's none of that. It's
This isn't Persona.
No, yeah, no. It's literally, hey, here's a mission. Go into class. Teacher teaches something real quick. You get a base principle of what you're trying to be taught, and then she teaches the move that you're supposed to be getting taught. That the teachers have assigned for you to get special training or whatever. And that literally takes like 5 minutes, if that. And then you go right back to doing whatever you were doing. The thing about this game, it has a little bit of that Elden Ring effect, and also some of that Fable too, where, again, for me, even just being within the school, I found myself just wanting to explore the world to see what was there, right? You see everything. The thing that stands out to me the most, and again, I'm going to say details so many times here, is just how alive the game feels. When you like, even when you're jumping in, even I've noticed, even if I put the game on mute, unless you're outside of the school, it feels like there's something going on. And it makes it even more impactful because there is a time of day system in place also, right? Because there was something unique to when I was exploring through the school and I was just caught up, just going about my merry way. And then all of a sudden it became dark and I was going from room to room and nobody was there. I was like, where did everybody go? And then you start putting two and two together. Oh, we are at school. Kids to go to bed. You know, things start to wind down. And then you get into some missions later on that are like, hey, you know, you might want to sneak around these certain areas or whatever. You start learning other abilities to allow you to go into other spaces. And it really adds this unique and dynamic feel because when that daylight comes back, it starts to become full again. It's not like NPCs are just popping up out of nowhere. It's all happening very organically. And that just doesn't happen as often anymore in video games and done as well. And again, you can say, oh, well, you can walk through some of the NPCs and, oh, not everything is how it's supposed to be. And no, by no means is the game perfect. But there are things that, for an example, like the locomotion that Red Dead Redemption has, I said this behind the scenes and I'll say it here too. When I say it has that quality of a Red Dead, I mean, as far as how the world is presented to you. As much as I may not like Red Dead Redemption 2 because I feel like it's a slogfest, and after 20 hours, I got bored. This is complete opposite of whether me having a liking to Harry Potter or not. It doesn't even, I wish that was more. I think that's what does trigger some of those inside feelings that I get about the game sometimes, where it's just like certain moments, like the first hour of the game, that I know why I feel as strongly as I do about it, and it's because of my connection to Harry Potter. So I can be forthright and say that, but I can also be forthright and say, hey, there's not many games that intro a game like this and make you instantly invested. Like, what the hell just happened? And that's a big takeaway from me. But as far as those, they're not Rockstar as far as interaction with people and all that, but they are of that echelon at least, especially for a team. They're nowhere close to the size of Rockstar, right? No. Don't have that level of pedigree either, where they have many years of working on a game of that style or of that ilk. Right. Whereas you go back with these guys, and it's like Disney Infinity is probably their biggest standout. All of their previous games, along with TAC, which I played when I was younger, which that came out in 2004, 5, and for them to be at this, like, wow. And Siki says RDR2 dynamic events are amazing. No one comes close. And again, I feel that. But that's also goes hand in hand with a team that's been doing those style of games for a long time. They can make certain things more dynamic within those world. To get that to give you those feelings. Again, that's the number one thing we always praise Rockstar about, and we kind of wish they would give us more, like giving us more access to buildings, like Red Dead Redemption 2 did for sure, where everything did seem accessible. Everything is like you can literally put your hands on everything, not to the level of like a Skyrim, but it felt like it could be lived in.
Sure.
Also the music, that's another part of it.
Yes.
That's very on point. You can get very lost into it. It just feels good. There are some audio issues here and there when using certain abilities that can be an issue, but the fastest way to clear that up is just using the ability again, and usually it stops it. So there's
I haven't had any of that on console at all.
So there's that. Country Gentleman says, when you're enjoying yourself to the point where you don't notice the shortcomings of a game, then I say the developer has a successful game, and that's legitimately what they've done, right? Yeah. Avalanche has perfectly set them up for there to be a second game of this, and for them to start working on the development of this now. I don't know if they have DLC in the works, on expansion. I hope so, because it definitely needs it. There's so many ample opportunities for you to take advantage of, and I do want to see more from Avalanche now, because at this point their possibilities are endless. I never thought that Wizard and Witch gameplay would be as fun as it is in this, right? I thought the combos were going to be kind of mundane and kind of boring. They're not, especially when you get your more abilities. And I can't stress this enough, guys, when you get those ability points later on, make sure you invest them in your core with getting the other combo sets that you can use, the other palettes that you can use, because what it does is when you hold right trigger, you can swap between every direction on your D-pad. So you have up to 16 abilities that you could use at any given time, right? And there's no cooldown. Oh, I mean, there's a cooldown if you use one ability, but like, let's say you swap to a different, if I use one fire move and I use a different fire move, there's no cooldown for that. This is the cooldown for the ability itself. There's no stamina meter, there's no mana meter, there's none of that. Like, all the things that they would probably, they probably had some of those systems in place here.
But Steel, while you're here, I want you to talk about this, because you're further than I am in that aspect.
Right.
Like I got my basics, my basic spells now, right? But you're beyond that. You've got some extra spells. And Rand was talking about this yesterday on Xbox 2. For all the people out there who are talking about the combat being lacking or look at how boring this is, bro, come on, man. Come on. The combos that you can pull off in this game, the combat is on another level if you dive into it, right? Because Rand was talking about how many different things you can use. You set up your next move based upon one of your spells. You get them into a disadvantage real easily, and then it's combo city from there on out, whether it's just your basic spell in combination with other spells. But Rand was saying the same thing you just were, while his one, well, let's just call it a deck, because everybody kind of understands.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what it is.
While your one deck is on cooldown because you use a bunch of spells, you switch over to the other deck and you're popping again, and you're just popping them off like that, right?
That's exactly how it essentially works. I mean, of course, you got to keep in mind what works with what well.
Yes. Yes.
And it can be kind of counterintuitive, because it can be a lot, right? I mean, at least for me, who's playing on hard, I haven't unlocked all the dark art abilities either. So that's the other thing. Like, keep that in mind.
And people had questioned whether or not you have to use the dark arts. If you're a true Harry Potter fan and you say that's like one of the things that ignores,
I will.
Rand pointed out that you can deny yourself those dark art abilities if you want to. They give you a choice.
Yeah, so that adds some uniqueness to it. Yeah. But no, I mean, that's exactly how the combo system works as far as that goes. It's really diverse in a lot of ways. Again, with me playing on hard, it's also different because I can't sit there and combo people forever. Like, it just doesn't happen. The thing that I like about this game is that the AI is not stupid. The AI is and will be aggressive, especially the spiders are annoying. I hate the fucking frog toad things. Them things are annoying as hell. And hyper aggressive, and they do a lot of damage. There's a lot of different things again, with me playing on a harder difficulty, I may just be having a different experience than a lot of people will. But even in this, when I'm doing this dark art challenge right here, I'm gonna end up dying quite a few times. They also gave me a whole new list of abilities that I wasn't familiar with using, so I was trying to fill that out and get used to it. I die here at least 10 times. And I was also being hard-headed because I was probably under leveled for this part. But nonetheless, I still made it happen. So
combat is not just a spam situation, which a lot of people were trying to claim. Oh, you just spam your basic spell over and over again.
No, especially at least again with me being on hard, that is not the case. You're gonna end up running into enemies that don't care about you doing basic attacks, will Leviosa you up out of the ground and hit you with attacks as well. So things you got to be aware of. And even though that has that Arkham kind of counter that pops up above your head, as well as that does work when you're trying to do multitude of different things. Again, I'm fighting 10 different enemies at the same time. It can be quite a lot, but it also adds another level of, hey, you're feeling overwhelmed. Hey, I need to, what are my combos? How do I piece things better together? Who do I need to, what enemies do I need to attack first? So it adds that whole other element to it. But overall, again, I can't suggest Hogwarts Legacy enough to people who have any focus or any interest in it. Dr. Diggleduss says, I have trouble with the camera focusing on a target I don't want to. The biggest thing that I can suggest to you, Dr. Digglenut, is turning it off in the options. I made a post. I'll probably send another one out today, but essentially what you'll want to do is go in and turn off, you want to turn off or turn on off screen targeting, because what that'll do is that wherever you're pointing your stick, that's who is going to attack. Now, again, it's not 100% all the time. So keep that in mind. But again, when you're aiming at something that's off screen, it's pretty.
You can target off screen enemies, which helps.
It helps a lot. Because I'm not one. I rarely will turn my camera all the way around to look at an enemy behind me, because I may be worried about some of the other guys in front of me, or spiders are constantly, because the spiders do multiple attacks over and over, and it's hard to kind of counter them unless you're anticipating it. But nonetheless, Hogwarts Legacy is an outstanding game. The open world of it, again, it does have a lot of Ubisoft effect to it. I don't think it's as bad because the world does, at least for me, I want to explore it, right? Just the way that the level design is, it's beautifully done. And I don't mind going to, hey, I found myself, once I got my broom and everything, and I'm just now unlocking beasts and whatnot. I haven't really progressed the story further than that. But when I got my broom, the first thing that I started doing was starting to go to all the different fast travel points so that I can just have them unlocked for the future reference. But finding myself stopping in between, oh, there's a cave here, or there's a spider den here, or there's some Merlin trial over here. So you'll have many stops along the road, and then boom, there's a town here. I can buy some things here. There's chests. And then also it has a Skyrim-esque lock picking system once you unlock that, to where you got to use both sticks to unlock to pick the lock, right? I know with Skyrim they have more of keys, and you got to, but it's essentially the same thing, except you're not gonna break a key. But you got to turn one stick, you got to hold it in a certain direction, and then you got to turn the other stick and hold that one in a certain direction, and boom, it opens the lock. Again, little bitty games that make a difference, that it does so well in this environment, within this world. It's super dope to me. And again, you can streamline it too if you want, if you're looking for that.
That's the other thing too, Steel, pacing of this game. The pacing of the exploration, the pacing of how you open things up. You always feel like you're progressing.
Yeah.
It's not one of those where you just get everything up front and all of a sudden you're like overwhelmed because you've got all these new abilities all at one time and you have no idea what you're doing. This team nailed the pacing of that. Again, for me, I go off exploring. I explore everything. And like Steele said, you'll get to a point where you can't explore without opening up some new abilities, which is fine to me. Like that's fine. That's a part of a game. It's not supposed to be a Bethesda style sandbox in any way, shape, or form. It's not like that. it's supposed to have you, okay, now you got to move forward if you've gotten to that point. But I think that the way the team has done it is beautiful. And I think that is another aspect that a lot of people don't necessarily point out when they're talking about the positives of this game, is that you always feel like you're moving to that next level and it's meaningful. They're not giving you something worthwhile. When they give you a new ability, it's for a specific reason, but all of a sudden that ability you find out can be used in other parts that you weren't expecting, right? And again, I'm trying to stay away from spoilers for those people that want to discover this stuff on their own.
Right.
But like Fuzzy was in our DMs and he thought, he found a certain aspect of the collectibles. And then he found out, oh, there's a tutorial later on. So the game still allows you to kind of experiment. Like I go up to different things and again, I'm staying away from spoilers because I know people get real sensitive about it. But I just throw everything at the kitchen and the kitchen sink of what I've got when I get to a certain spot, right? And I say, okay, is any of this going to work? And sometimes it does, and you're like, oh, shit, wow, hey.
It doesn't tell you.
Cool. No, it doesn't tell you necessarily, especially if you're just exploring on your own. But then you also see, oh, no, I must have to go find something else. I must need a new ability or spell to do this. And then that's a cool part about this. And again, not every game does it. Not every team pulls it off to this level. Again, Ubisoft style open world, Ubisoft takes a lot of that away from you, that exploration, because everything's there. It's all shown for you, blah, blah, blah. This game doles it out in little bits and pieces, which I think keeps it interesting throughout. And I think that's the part. And again, I'm 15 hours in. I'm nowhere near where Steel is at. As far as
10 hours.
But you've run forward. You've got your broom. You're out there exploring the real world and all that kind of stuff. I haven't gotten to that point yet. I've just gotten through Hogsmeade and in the castle for the most part. So, but I think that aspect is lost on a lot of people. And I think that's another part that people are finding in this game that maybe people don't talk about much. But the pacing is amazing. I thought they did a really great job with it.
No, they did an excellent job. And Country Gentleman brings up a good point, too. He says Hogwarts checks the boxes like every game does, but the game does a great job disguising them. That's very true. Again, that's part of game design. It's part of game development. You can give me the same thing that other games have presented me, but it's all about presentation. How do you give those things to me? And again, Pong bringing that point up is perfect because I don't know who was in charge of game pacing, but they need a raise. They did a really good job. That's something that's also lacking in today's day and era where a lot of games don't really understand pacing. Elden Ring did it really well too. He brought that up. It's a Harry Potter game in an open world, not the other way around, just like Elden Ring. Exactly. Elden Ring does the same thing. Hey, you go into the open world, you see this golden boss. Are you going to fight that golden boss or are you going to pick a direction and go that way? It's completely up to you. Siki asked a question: do enemies level up with the player or just stay the same? The enemies do tend to match your level. There will be things that you may be under leveled for. So there are certain things like that, but for the most part, the game does kind of
in the main line. What I've seen so far too is the mainline quest Steel.
Now the main different.
You can be overpowered.
Yeah, the mainline you could definitely be overpowered.
Yeah. Because my first experience in the mainline quest, I was not the first. Well, let's say when you get into the story, when I got to the first kind of part, one of the main parts of it, I was overpowered.
Yeah, sure. I was level 20 doing a level 11 main mission, and I didn't realize I was that far off. But yeah, it was kind of a breeze. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, so there is that, but again, there's nothing wrong with that. Because you allowed me to do that.
Right.
Now, I could have I could have went through the experience like it probably anticipated me doing.
Sure.
But because I did it this way, it worked really well. But nothing but high praises for me. The game's a 9 out of 10 easily from me at this point.
So far.
It can only get better from here. And again, it's not going to be for everybody. If this is the line for you where you don't want to invest in Hogwarts, I get it. Do what's right for you, but you have to make that determination. But I don't think this is one to skip this year, personally.
No, this is well worth the value.
Yeah,
we always talk about value for me personally, and again, not everybody's the same. Got to make that choice, but I'm saying there's a lot worse you could do with $70 if you're going to jump into this game. That's for damn sure. This game gives you a lot for your money, in my opinion. So
yeah. So I mean, to each your own. I'm enjoying it. I hope you guys will enjoy it. Well, it'd be interesting to see what the sales end up looking like for this game, what the kind of traction it ends up getting. I am anticipating to see Elden Ring like I mean, that kind of effect happen. I think it's going to happen to a greater magnitude, though. I think it's
20 million by the end of the year.
I think it's going to end up selling more than that.
Yeah, but that's high praise because that's Elden Ring numbers, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to hit. I think it's going to hit 30 million within the next 6 months. I'm just
right.
because
I like your bullish. I like being bullish, man.
I'll be, I'll take it there.
There's a lot of games coming.
I think it might happen, but there's a lot of games that people aren't going to care about.
Sure, the thing, there's a lot of big games too.
But there's a lot of big games that nobody knows anything about.
Yeah, but there's a lot of big games that people do know about. Zelda, Starfield. We got a lot of big games coming, bro. Got a lot of big games. No, but I like your bullish attitude. Again, I'm not downplaying it. 600,000 plus concurrent players yesterday on Steam. Third highest all time. Right behind Cyberpunk and Elden Ring. If you include, some people count some people say Elden Ring is a multiplayer game. I don't personally think of it that way. Technically it is, but I'm just saying third highest all time already. I mean, 600,000 concurrent players and we hadn't hit the weekend yet. So we'll see.
Again, I think it's going to. I think this is also going to put a bigger light on the gaming industry itself. There's only certain IPs that have that kind of power. I think this is going to be a good example to show people where we're at currently in gaming, and also take advantage of an IP because it's not a small IP. And like I've been using the comparison, Harry Potter for a lot of people is their version of Star Wars or Star Trek. At least it would be for me.
That generation.
That was Harry Potter had the same effect that it had on those generations back then. Mm-hmm. At least in my opinion. I mean, again, y'all, I could be wrong, but I grew up in that. So from what I've seen and from what also the many streets that I like to scour, it does seem as though there's a lot more non-gamers jumping in. There's a lot more people who are just looking at the industry a little bit differently with this release. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. And hopefully the Tears of the Kingdom leaves us with less than tears, because my wife already said she's day one, although it's a $70 game. I don't know. The game does look kind of very similar to the first game, but
Wow.
Well,
of course, what are you going to do? You're still using the same 8-year-old tech. What are you going to do?
I mean,
And I know Switch has already been out for 6 years, but when Switch came out, it was already behind a couple years. All right? It was using mobile tech.
Like she said, but it's Zelda. Yeah. So, I mean, that's all you need to say. It's Zelda. Yeah, Zelda never disappoints. I'm pretty sure he's disappointed quite a few times. Even Gene said Tears of the Kingdom is day one, but it looks like DLC. Best $70 DLC you'll get.
It is.
I personally am not gonna hammer Nintendo the way like Mav did, for an example. I understand his perspective on it and everything, but again, why would Nintendo try their hand back in that market when they didn't see success in the market and were pushed out of the market?
But Mav, well, we'll get into it because Mav's not even asking for them to compete with Sony and Xbox per se. Just come on, man. Get within a decade tech. Come on, man.
But you also see how much the Steam Deck is. You also see how much how to bring that tech forward, and for it to still be at a manageable price. Now, again, I say manageable price, and obviously Nintendo doesn't care. But
they did the Wii.
But they also failed with the Wii.
No, not the Wii. The Wii U, they failed.
Oh, well,
but the Wii set the bar, right? In a lot of ways for different reasons.
But the GameCube, but it's like you can't go GameCube, Wii, success, then Wii U, fail, and then we're just going to do Nintendo Switch now.
But they did a terrible job with the Wii U. That was on them as far as marketing goes.
It was half-assed.
On the marketing and everything else, it was terrible. But again, I respect the hustle completely from Nintendo. I understand what they're doing.
They should
I just
become
look
more
at
open.
I just look at their games and I just say, and I still get excited. Again, I gave the Nintendo Direct a B. I watched the Nintendo Direct. I thought, we'll get into it. I thought it was great. I thought it was really well done. But I look at those games and I say, what more could they be? Like, they could be so much more.
Yeah,
not
that
even
is the best example of that. Mm.
Yeah, not even current tech. They don't have to come up to current tech. I'm not asking them to create a 912 teraflop machine. Just bring it forward to like PlayStation 4 Pro, Xbox One X level.
Yeah, but I don't know if people are willing to buy a $600 to $700 Switch to be able to do that.
But they don't have to do that.
But they want to
make a console. Make a console.
They don't want to do that. They don't want to.
I don't care. I don't care. But that's what we're asking for.
They wanted to keep
that's
switching.
What I'm saying. That's all I'm asking for.
They don't want that. They wanted to keep switching.
But that's all we're asking.
I think Nintendo's next big technology leap is going to be within the dock. If they can figure out how to make a dock upscale their base console and be able to access more performance, kind of like what we see with the Xbox Series X, for an example, right? We know that it has separated motherboards and are connected, and you know there's a whole magic that's to it. They could do something similar with the Nintendo Switch, to where you have a more heavy duty dock, right? And again, I don't know what the technology is. I don't know how to do this, but I can see potentially a technology that would allow, because there's devices that will upscale Nintendo games currently that are on the market for like $40 to $100 or whatever the case. It's like a 4K upscaler or whatever, and it works its magic. You plug it in through the HDMI port, and it works its magic to make things look better than they would have previously. And there is a huge difference. But I think that would be their next big leap, is figuring out a way to do that. Because once you do that, I mean, you don't have to do. And again, all you would need is a similar power to a PlayStation 4. With the way technology is now, especially on mobile phones, you could step that up. You could step that even further and still have access to maybe not 4K, but 1440p upscale to your native TV's resolution. 60 guaranteed, possibly, on a lot of your games. I think that would be a really dope way to do it, because you still have that versatility of the Switch, being able to leave the house and then also bringing it in for those people who like to use the dock. Or it would at least give people, I think, a bigger reason to make sure it's a mainstay in their living room, instead of like, oh, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna just use it as a charger stand.
All right. This is a whole conversation, because again, Mario and Zelda don't mean anything to me. I look at Zelda and I say, why would I play that? I have zero interest in Link as a character. The world doesn't fascinate me. I watch the IGN reactions to the Nintendo Direct, and the IGN has their own Nintendo panel, and it gives you a good glimpse into what Nintendo fandom is like. Because they freely admitted during the show, like, oh, we already know there's going to be probably some like forest scene. There's going to be some forest part of this game, and the frames are going to dip to 15 to 20 frames. But who cares? It's Zelda. Why can't we ask Nintendo for more? Why is that acceptable? Why? I mean, we gave Gotham Knights all the smoke, right, for coming out at 30 frames on the current gen. Why does Nintendo get away with that with one of their most important IPs in Zelda? Why do Zelda fans say, oh, that's okay? Like, that aspect to me is, again, it's fine. I'm a person who doesn't see bugs like other people. I'm a person who doesn't see the frame dips like other people. I still don't know what screen tearing is. To this day, I've never there's people that are highly sensitive to it, like that exists.
It's
right?
lines. It's screen tearing. It's lines on your screen.
Sure, but I don't see it. So, anyways, so I'm not going to sit here and be that person that says, "Oh, you guys ruins the whole experience." No, I play plenty of terrible games with terrible frame rate that I still like. Right, so I understand it, but they excuse it for one of the biggest franchises out there in history. Okay. Why aren't they saying to themselves how much better this could be? Like, why aren't they saying Zelda Zelda deserves better than what Nintendo is currently presenting it as. Why is it, nah, this is the greatest ever, right? And 15, 20 frames, I don't care. I mean, that mentality, like, I just know what Nintendo could do if they had just a little bit. And again, I'm not asking for Series X or PlayStation 5 quality. I'm not asking for that at Nintendo. I'm just saying come up a generation or two, please, and just kind of see what you can do. You could expand Zelda so much more. But, you know, as I've heard a lot of Nintendo fans say, this is what makes Nintendo special, is that their graphics, their artistic style is timeless. Kind of like we talked about Hi-Fi Rush. It's timeless. And if that's what people are willing to accept, then that's what people are willing to accept. That's why I don't get so down on it. But it's also a reason why I won't invest in Nintendo, because again, there's a few RPGs in there, Fire Emblem, those games. Now they've got Etrian Odyssey coming from Atlas. Yeah. I would love to play, but I'm not going to invest $300 into 8-year-old tech. I'm just not going. It doesn't do anything for me. Like, I just know I'll be disappointed like Mav is, and I just won't play it. So I just wish Nintendo would try to come up a little bit. And I'm surprised. You know, a lot of Nintendo fans. Again, I swim in those waters because I'm always interested in what the other fandom said. They said this Nintendo Direct kind of showed that Nintendo is getting ready to announce new hardware, even though Nintendo not.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to announce it because, there's got to be something out there. So I can't wait to see it. So we went off tangent there because we were going to get into that topic, but we'll talk more about Nintendo Direct, I think, a little bit later. So
yeah, a little bit. I didn't really care for it too much. I did see the Zelda release. I didn't watch it in tandem or anything, so there's that. But nonetheless, we do have some upcoming games to get into, though. Looks like this next week is going to actually be filled with quite a few things that people could be interested in. Along with, I didn't realize Wild Hearts was releasing next week.
Yes, sir. Let me pull it up here, Steel. Shout out some of the chat, Steel.
Lord Jesus Christ. Cheese and rice.
Yeah, I know we got so much coming up, man.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, Talos Ray. What's going on? Nam Omar, what's popping? How you feeling? Tim the Sorcerer. Emmett Jean, he's been getting active with us all morning. Shout out to you. Fanto, how you feeling? Smitty, how you feeling? Isaac Gentry said $14.40 at a decent price, and I'm sold. Man, sometimes that's all it takes, just a little bit. Vic the Click, how you feeling this morning, man? Hopefully you are feeling all right. You didn't get any drinking that's been getting to you this week. Silent Cypher, how you feeling, man? Good to see you up in here. Skullsy TV, he said Nintendo's great, but they're falling behind hardware tech-wise. A little bit, man. It's definitely an issue in some aspects. Again, it's hard for me to complain. I played Pokemon Scarlet, and I thought it was all right. I mean, again, definitely an issue when the pop-in is like blatant and grass is non-existent. And, you know, there's some things there, but all things considered, I do want them to move forward. I want them to be able to innovate in their space, to kind of make people look at the handheld market, continues to look at that different. And not just make a 2DS, 3DS, 4D, 5DS. I don't need to do any of that anymore. Anyway, Tim the Sorcerer, what's going on? General Spartan, Dr. Dinglenut, shouted him out earlier. Shout out to you, country gentleman. Appreciate you being here. Crispy Rambo, Seeky, Lord Roughness. He says, "Steel, let's put some time in. He is Harry Potter at this point." No, I wish. Dip Down Anime. Lord Master Jasper was in the house, vibing and rolling with us. Who else we got in here? ATL. Dan the Man Cunningham. King Webb was in here, getting it in, hollering at us. Jesse Darby was popping, man. How you feeling? Six Slayer came through. 108 Dragon, of course. The brother Lemon. Mr. Got a Fax himself. Who else we got in here? RWK was up in here. Andrew Cullinane, appreciate you for flocking in. Casket Repair, back from the dead. Who else? Shout out to everybody, man. If I didn't say your name, Psychonauts. What's going
Of
on,
course,
man?
brother. Psychonauts.
Good to see you in here. And again, if you are listening and I didn't shout you out, even if you can't type in the chat real quick, that's perfectly fine. Hopefully you are having a good Saturday. If you had to work today, hey, shout out to you. Hopefully this helps you get through your day. Or if you just got some chores or you got to do some things around the house, whatever the case may be, hopefully this podcast helps you kind of work through a lot of those things and gets that time just to melt on away. But we got to get you hyped for this next week and upcoming games as we usually do, because again, gaming is art, should be treated as such. And as much as we got to tell you what's outgoing, we got to make sure you're up to date on what's incoming also. So Pong, if you're ready, let's get into it.
I'm ready. So we got week of the 13th of February coming up. And speaking of art, we're going to start off with a very artistic game, which they did show off at the Nintendo Direct, which looks very interesting to me. Not to everybody, I'm sure, but I love like that hand-drawn look that's coming with Blanc. Blanc is a black and white type game with animals, with this deer. It's published by Gearbox. It's developed by Casus Ludi. It's an adventure game, and it looks very cool. This is one of those little indie games that I'd love to jump into at some point. It's coming to Switch and PC, February the 14th. Again, Valentine's Day week. So for all you lovers out there, remember, it's Valentine's Day early this week. So get ready. Blanc coming out February the 14th. Journey to the Savage Planet. I have talked about this game. This is an older game, but it is getting its current gen update for free if you own it. I picked up a physical copy off of Mercari for, I think, like $10. Brand new off of somebody. In fact, it's still in the wrapper. Yeah, so I picked that up. I played this game previously, and I really enjoyed my time. I think I've got like 20 hours into it or something like that, 15, 20 hours. Great little exploration game. Beautiful color palette. Talk about popping off the screen type graphics. Just a really cool exploration. It's got some Obsidian to it. It's got some Outer Worlds to it in some ways. Now, I'm not talking about like, this narrative-driven RPG, but the way that they present it when you get in your starship and your exploration of this planet, it's got some Metroidvania to it, where you open up new abilities, which opens up other parts of the map. This game is really cool, and it's getting its current gen patch also on Valentine's Day. So again, I'm ready for that. I've got it downloaded already. I'm going to hop back into it because I can't wait to see what this thing looks like. They're also adding an expansion to it, and all that comes free if you own the game. So Journey to the Savage Planet, February 14. Souls of Chronos coming to PlayStation 5, Switch, and PC also on February 14th. Looks like this role-playing game, RPG, anime style characters, skipping Xbox as per usual. This is developed by Fudu Studio, published by Astrolabe Games. And that's coming out February 14th. And then we've got Tomb Raider Reloaded coming to iOS and Android on Valentine's Day. This looks like a top-down action, maybe puzzler game from Emerald City Games, published by CDE Entertainment. I like these little offshoot games that they have. So Tomb Raider Reloaded, I might actually take a look at that one and see what it's like, because I like those little offshoots. Then a game that not a lot of people have paid attention to. This is a game that has been in my list, my wanted list on my Xbox. I don't think I'm going to dive in now that Hogwarts has kind of sucked me in. I've got Midnight Suns that I'm still rocking out, and of course Age 2 Definitive Edition, which that addiction is going to come back. I will not be in Hogwarts, primarily Hogwarts forever. I will definitely be getting back into my Age. But Wanted Dead is coming out. Now, this is a throwback game. This is from, now I think Rand thinks that this is Itagaki's new studio. Itagaki, of course, of Ninja Gaiden fame, of course. I don't know if this is his actual studio. Look it up though, Steel, and tell me if it is. But anyways, it is from former Ninja Gaiden team members from back in the day, Team Ninja, of course. They have put out this Wanted Dead game. If you're looking for some weird, wacky 360-like gameplay, check out Wanted Dead. This game is all over the place. Dismemberment in full effect with the attacks. You got sword attacks, you got gun attacks, you got finishing moves in this game. But it's not gonna blow your mind graphically, but it looks so damn cool. So need to check out Wanted Dead if you're looking for something new. This game, I've seen some people hinting. Ty Guy Travis is reviewing this for IGN. And I'll get into Ty Guy a little bit later when I talk a little bit more about I got some praise and I got some rants coming up for Hogwarts Legacy and the journalists out there, which I knew was going to happen. But he's I think reviewing this game, and he's made a couple posts on Twitter. I've seen some other people post on Twitter that it seems like this game is going to be one of those cult classic games, Steel. That Wanted Dead is going to be one of those games that people discover later on, and all of a sudden it becomes bigger than maybe how it launched. So go check out Wanted Dead. It's definitely on my list. I'm going to pick it up at some point for sure, unless it comes out and everybody says it's broken. But all indications are that's not the case at all. That's going to be a cool game coming out February 14th. Pharaoh, A New Era, coming to PC. This is a strategy game from Dotemu and developed by Triskel Interactive. Coming out on the 15th of February. Then, Steel, a surprise Game Pass inclusion. Actually, it wasn't a surprise to me. I was hoping this was going to happen because the first two were in Game Pass. I put a lot of hours into number 2. I put over 80 hours into this game. I actually finished it back in the day, number 2, the second one of this. But Shadow Warrior 3 is coming to Game Pass, dropping to Game Pass this week. It is PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, because they're doing the update for the current gen, and it's dropping into Game Pass. Shadow Warrior 3, if you held off this entire time, guess what? It's going to be there in Game Pass, so no risk. I'm going to download this day one. I love the Shadow Warrior series. Now, they've done some things different with Shadow Warrior 3. It's more Doom-esque than the well, all of them were kind of Doomy, but this was more, current Doom Eternal type gameplay from what I saw. So I'm excited to get back into Shadow Warrior. Shadow Warrior 3 dropping in February 16th. And then we got the, what is this? Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line coming to PlayStation 4 and Switch on February 16th. This is the Final Fantasy rhythm-based game. So check out that one. That is coming. It's multiplayer, up to 8 players, developed and published by Square Enix, of course, rhythm and music based. That's coming out February 16th. Then we got Gigantosaurus Dino Kart. Or Gigantosaurus Dino Kart. Steel, you and I hit this one up. It's a kart racing game, of course. Of course it is. Coming from Outright Games, published by 3D Clouds, coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Everybody likes a kart racer, so we'll see how this one does it. Looks kind of interesting, actually. And then we got Tales of Symphonia Remastered, classic RPG. Classic Tales series RPG. You're into Tales series, you need to get this remaster. This is going to be right up your alley, coming from Bandai Namco, of course. PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch. This was a classic back in the day. They are remastering it. It looks beautiful. Certainly not a remake. This is definitely a remaster, but this is a game that you should play if you like old school JRPGs. The Tales series is phenomenal through and through, but this one is very, very good, very close to the top of the list of the Tales series. So go check out Tales of Symphonia. I played it back in the day. I'm going to be picking that up at some point for sure. Then we got the Settlers, New Allies, coming to PC February 17th. This is a strategy game published by Ubisoft from an indie developer, Blue Byte. So Settlers, New Allies, coming to PC. Go check that out if you're into strategy games. There's a billion of them over there. And then, like Steel said, another big game, Wild Hearts. That's right. This is coming from, of course, it's published by EA, but developed by Koei Tecmo. This is the Monster Hunter, very heavily mechanical trap focused version of Monster Hunter that a lot of people have been excited for, Steel included. And we got confirmation that we are going to get a 10-hour trial with this one. So that is going to help this game immensely. Jez was hinting that this is one of the games he is currently playing and that he is loving it by his hints yesterday. So get ready for Wild Hearts. If you're into Monster Hunter, we just got Monster Hunter Rise. Now we're getting Wild Hearts. Again, this looks more there's traps in Monster Hunter that you can use. This one looks like you specifically do need to use those traps to bring down some of the big monsters. And I'm going to definitely be downloading the 10-hour trial and checking it out. So if you got Xbox Ultimate, it'll be part of the EA Play trial. So go check that out. Wild Hearts, February 17th. Could be just another big game. Again, high scores. Who knows? We'll see. Aka R coming out to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Oh, no, I'm getting ahead. Never mind. That's the end.
A little ahead.
That's next week. Next week is going to be another big week as well because Atomic Heart is dropping next week. So get ready for that. Yeah, Steel, hell of a week here, man. There's like 4 games. I'm going to be able to get Shadow Warrior 3 in Xbox, or in Game Pass. So that's going to be nice. But man, I want Tales of Symphonia. I really want Wanted Dead. It looks freaking so cool to me. Journey to Savage Planet update is coming. Big week of gaming, Steel. It's going to be fun.
No, it's going to be a huge week. I was trying to nail down who was the lead game dev for Wanted Dead, and I can't get it. I can't nail it down. I can only nail down 110 Industries as or Salil as the dev or whatever the case, and the publisher, but it won't give me any other information outside of that. Who's the main person working on the game, whichever the case. No matter what I find on that, it's not giving me any direct information.
So let me see if somebody's got.
I do want to know, because again, there's a lot of quality to the game that from what I'm seeing, and again, I do understand why people say, "Hey, this is going to be a 360-ish game." I don't necessarily agree with that, but
no, just the style. Yeah, the style of the game is a throwback, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's better than a 360 game. Again, it's not AAA by any stretch. It's better than that. But this is like a AA game, which is a throwback to the 360 style, which is just weird, crazy, that kind of thing. And no, Tonobu Itagaki formed Apex Games, which is not a part of this.
Gotcha.
So it's not Itagaki, but it's some of his former team from Ninja Gaiden, right?
Yes.
Team Ninja. Back in the day, they formed their own studio, Soleil, and they are making this game. So you're going to see that Ninja Gaiden style action combat in this game.
Yes.
And that's what I've seen so far. And Ty Guy alluded to the fact that this is a difficult game, that this isn't an easy run through game, that it is going to have that Ninja Gaiden, hey, you can die at any moment. You can get yourself killed real quick in this game. So it's going to be a challenge as well. So yeah.
No, that definitely should be interesting. Again, that game's another one I'm gonna have to add onto the list, but Wild Hearts is definitely a standout for. Awesome to see. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, what do we want to get into here? Do we want to be beautiful and talk some more about Hogwarts, and we'll just end it all right here and we'll play Hogwarts for the rest of the day? No, there's definitely a few things we talked about here. It does depend on where you would like to start, though. What do we want to hit out the park first? I know you said you had some smoke this week for some of the journalism, kind of continuing what we do end up doing here quite, I want to say quite frequently, but we do like to address some things that are on our mind and are affecting, I would say, the overall community. It's just like the Hogwarts thing, right? That is affecting, you could say it's a loud minority or whichever the case. There is a huge group of people, though, regardless, that are that have spoken up about this. And their feelings and how their views, and that's perfectly fine. We should be able to do that with no problems. The biggest thing for me, and this is the biggest reason why I like talking about it, is no side is right to sit there and attack. That's never okay. You can have your beliefs, you can stand for what you want to believe, but you don't need to attack people for what they think, what they believe, right? And that's the other thing too, and a lot of gamers don't care, right? So that's another good point there with 108. Well, we do, but to be fair, there's a lot of us who are part of the vocal minority as far as the gaming community go, that claim that they do that same thing, but then they'll spend hours upon hours within their spaces or making videos and making hate content, and also somehow making things racist again in a lot of ways. Not saying that racism has gone anywhere, because it hasn't. People are still more blatantly racist than they've ever been, but it, for a lot of this to be stemmed off of games is, again, another key reason why we older gamers, and also those who have a bigger vision for what we want to see through the game industry, while we're going to continuously have a difficult conversation because people won't be able to take us serious, right? Gaming is still seen as still has an underlying tone to it. Whether you want to say that's childish, or it's not a real hobby, or it's not a true form of entertainment. It still has that time. It's a waste of time. Although people will watch TV, read books, they'll go clean their car for hours. They'll do, there's so many other things that you couldn't and would be doing. You'd be model building, could be painting. No matter what, I'm not going to judge anybody for what their hobbies are. I'm not going to say anybody's less than for what their hobbies are. But when we're having the conversations that we are about video games, and again, we forget that it's about video games. And again, I'm cool with, I understand why people try to pull people's cards, and we do want to have honest and real conversations with people also. But just like anything else, there has to be, if you want to draw a line as far as like what games you should play and what you shouldn't, why can't we draw a line to what should be part of gaming conversation and what is? Like, why aren't we talking about that line? That never gets brought up, but we want to talk about phobia and gaming and all. This game's are racist and like all these other things. We're having such offhanded conversation, but we're not ever talking about what's actually going to help us progress. And that's always going to be my bigger issue about this situation. So Pong, with me saying some of that, what were some of the key points that you wanted to touch on this week from what you've seen, especially since Hogwarts has officially released yesterday? We have gotten more reviews. We have seen also some reviewers go out there and give a game a 1 out of 10 score, which would mean that the game is completely broken and unplayable, at least in my understanding of what game reviews do or game scores mean. And we're also seeing a lot of people who can separate themselves and say, hey, this is the game, but this is also my view on the conversation that's going on.
Yeah, sure.
What do you think about the situation that's going on? Does this kind of put in question the journalism thing again, or what's going on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We got a lot going on here. So first of all, we talked about this pre-launch that Hogwarts was going to get interesting. And I said that, I was worried that there was going to be journalists who decided to review this game as a political statement versus reviewing it as a game. And I was pleasantly surprised, Steele, by some sites. And I got to give props where props are due. IGN, Ty Guy Travis. There was word that there was a lot of people in IGN who didn't want to touch this game at all, and they were having a hard time finding somebody who wanted to review it. Ty Guy took it on. Again, Ty Guy is over on Season Gaming every Sunday with the guys over there with Portia Power and Ains and, of course, Dan and Hogue, who obviously Hogue's going through his own thing right now. A shout out to Hogue and the family over there because they're getting better, and he's on his way back. But Ty Guy does appear on there, but he is obviously known as a reviewer and contributor to IGN. And Ty Guy took it as on. And Ty Guy reviewed the game as a game and wound up giving it a 9. And then IGN, which, again, if you want to make a statement about the situation, I don't have a problem with that. Again, I think it's silly, but if you as a company, which IGN is, decides that you need to put out a statement on top of the review and say, hey, this is a situation with J.K. Rowling, this is a situation with Harry Potter, this is the political stuff, the, whatever you feel about that, go for it. They did that. They felt they still needed to virtue signal to a large portion of their audience who was going to have a problem with the fact that Ty Guy Travis gave it a fair and honest review and liked it and liked the game for what it is, the game. So I got to give props to all the review sites who did that. Now, Portkey Games and WB, they were selective in their giving of codes, which is not abnormal. We know this happens in the industry. This is one of the seedier sides of the industry and journalism, quote unquote. We know for a fact that many publishers and devs give out codes to certain people that they know will give a favorable review. Now, this is where things get dicey still. Because there are some within the journalism community who want us all to believe that they give their unbiased opinions. We have had this discussion through many games. There is many people in this community who would like to say, oh, there's no favorability when it comes to Sony. There's no bias when it comes to Xbox.
Yeah.
Bullshit. This is the reason why we have said time and time again, Steel, that you need to take reviews with a grain of salt. You need to take them for what they are, an opinion, and opinions are biased. And that goes for everybody who gives their opinion about something. But that's why us smaller YouTubers and even bigger YouTubers who are outside of the mainstream gaming journalism tend to always say, look, this is just our opinion. If you disagree, you disagree. It's no big deal. I'm not telling you this is fact. But there is still a large portion of people, gamers, the masses who do go to an IGN and believe that they are getting an upfront review and make their buying decisions based upon that.
A lot of people.
Now, we know for a fact that it is controlled, especially by the bigger publishers, the bigger devs out there will control the narrative by giving it to certain people. But again, the hypocrisy is we've been told that that's not the case. That none of that happens in this industry. That we're all just neutral journalists.
We have no basis for proving it.
Bullshit.
Okay.
And that showed this week. Okay, that showed this week because we know for a fact that Portkey Games did control who they were giving codes to, and rightfully so.
Do what you want.
They rightfully so in a lot of ways because they knew certain outlets would not give them a fair review on the game for being a game. So when that instance comes up, I don't blame Portkey Games for saying, you know what, you guys, I know for a fact you're going to review this unfairly and you're not going to give us a fair shake, and our devs deserve that fair shake. So I don't blame them in this case because the discourse was way out of control behind the scenes. And again, I don't care if you're not going to buy the game, if you're going to take a stand. I don't care if you think that J.K. Rowling is the devil incarnate. That's fine.
That's what people used to think back in the day. It don't matter.
Yeah, I have zero issue with you. I have zero issue with you come out and stating your opinion. Where it has gone sideways is the bullying. Where it has gone sideways is telling other people that they are horrible human beings for buying a video game. That's where this goes sideways. That's where you lose your narrative. And that's where your power goes away. You do a disservice to whatever you're trying to do by going after people personally.
Right.
You are wrong for that. So I got to give shout out. A lot of the review sites did a great job. They actually reviewed it fairly. Again, as much as that can be taken into account, the scores were great. Obviously, all of us have gotten our hands on it, and I agree with the scores, right? I agree. This is a great game. Sitting at like an 89, 90 Metacritic right now for Xbox.
It's sitting at it's like 89, 90. It has a user score of 9.1.
Yep. So again, people all have agreed with the reviewers for the most part. But then still, you know what?
What happened?
You just knew. First of all, we had a lot of journalists out here being disgruntled about the fact that they weren't getting review codes. Yeah. The fact that they weren't going to have the opportunity to review bomb this game based upon their feelings for J.K. Rowling. They were disgruntled with their fellow journalists for reviewing the game fairly and espousing that. And you knew one of them was going to have to take it a step further, at least Steel. And yesterday, Wired came out with their review, right?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Wired is not a small journalistic site. Wired is one of the old school websites and magazines that have been around. They were especially popular for PC, obviously, and tech. That's where they started. I've read Wired.
What do they focus on now, Paul?
Well, they do like sex toys and coffee makers and stuff. They do everything. They do everything tech now. But they are one of the old school journalism sites. So you would think that they want to uphold their integrity more so than others. But as we know, journalism in particular has thrown all integrity out the window. Not everybody. That isn't 100%. There are plenty of journalists out there who still do the good work and who still try to hold on to the old ways and the old integrity, and they try to exemplify that through their efforts. So I'm not going to blanket 100%, but what we have seen throughout journalism over the past decade or two is a move towards opinion-biased pieces that do not present facts. They just present whatever the writer is trying to come across with, which is not how journalism started. Okay. Wired decided to come out, and they did not get a code. They purchased the game, or maybe they didn't even purchase the game. They got a writer who claims to be a games journalist, but her last game review was Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And since Valhalla, she has done sex toys reviews and coffee maker reviews.
Huh.
And she decides to do a Hogwarts Legacy review. And I say review with that definition doesn't mean anything here. Okay, that word doesn't mean anything here. She decided to write a hit piece on Hogwarts Legacy. It's a flat out hit piece.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she decided to score that hit piece. And the editor-in-chief over at Wired Magazine decided to post this as if this was legit underneath a gaming review. And they gave it a 1 out of 10. And her entire article was pretty much lamenting over J.K. Rowling and basically just saying this game was trash, that mid at best, and then said, but looks like it was generations behind graphically.
This is one of the most graphically impressive games we've seen this generation.
Again, this was a fake review. I don't even know if she played it.
Probably not.
I can't honestly say that she played it. I think this was entirely 100% a hit piece. This is why the gaming industry or the journalism industry can't be taken seriously. This does a disservice not only to Wired's readers, to gamers, but to the entire journalism at large. For those that are trying to do their job in this space and trying to do it well and trying to do it with some sort of ethics involved, for you to take a moral stance against a video game, again, if you want to do that, write up an article, post an article about all your feelings about J.K. Rowling and why you're not buying this game or why, you believe this game should be shunned. You can do that. But to put out what you say is an official review of a game, you can't take that moral high ground. You're now a hypocrite. Okay? You can't do this. And you've destroyed further. You've eroded further the trust, or you've increased the lack of trust in game journalism. And this went further too, Steel. And I got to bring this up too, because Tom Henderson, shout out to Tom Henderson, love the guy.
Yeah, he's solid people.
People have his opinions on him, but he started InsiderGaming.com. He leaks stuff. He's gone back and forth with mainstream journalism about whether or not it's right to leak things, all that kind of stuff. He's fighting the good fight. Again, as somebody who appreciates leaks, I appreciate Tom Henderson. I appreciate that he is outside of that mainstream and made his mark and said, this is my job. I get paid by the fact that I leak things. So I'm not out here pretending I'm signing NDAs and breaking NDAs. He goes, I won't break NDAs because I don't sign them. So I get the information. I'm giving it to the people. And he's had that back and forth. Well, yesterday, he put out a tweet yesterday that said, if Hogwarts Legacy has done anything, it's proved why written games media journalism is dying and why hardly anyone trusts them or their opinions anymore. This tweet isn't just about Wired being an embarrassment. It's about the industry as a whole. Journalists attacking IGN for the review prove that if you don't have the same hive mind agenda, you'll be put on the pedestal and called out. There are a few exceptions, of course. Now, journalists who refuse to cover the game are covering the fact that the embargoed reviews have higher scores than the ones that weren't, implying that they had a hidden agenda or something. The hypocrisy is fucking sickening. And I'm gonna add this part to it too. Again, I respect Jeff Grubb. You guys all know that. You guys have heard us shout out Grubb many times. I respect him as a whole for what he tries to do. He does have political leanings. He does have bias. If you follow Jeff Grubb for long enough, you know what those are, whether you agree or disagree. Again, yeah, I put my differences with a lot of people aside in a lot of ways if they do good work, right? And if I respect them for the work, I can separate things, right? I can do that as an adult human being.
I don't have to agree with all your thoughts.
No.
You could love Trump. I don't have to love Trump because you like it. But if you a decent person, you know, and you're not out here shitting on people, I might be able to be like, all right, we can agree to disagree and move on.
Right, move on. Right, that's the way adults used to handle things. Unfortunately, that's all changed nowadays. But
that's kind of
that's a different topic.
I think it's just been more so. I think it's always been a thing. It's just now people are really seething for attention.
Right. So Grubb came into this post by Tom Henderson and said, "Go ask Context if publishers ever aim their embargoed reviews in the outlets they think will get them the highest scores," which, again, we've talked about. That's what I just pointed out. This isn't some made up thing. It happens all the time. I can point to a specific game where I was told exactly what to say to get approved for a code.
Right.
Tom Anderson said, "You're missing my point. I know they do. But every time the industry is called out for it, the usual 'it's not true' and 'we're professional' quotes get thrown around, which is why the hypocrisy is sickening." Rob said, sites talk about this every time they get left out of getting a code. Again, it's just not new. Tom Anderson said, "If that's the case, then I've genuinely missed it for whatever reason. But if you've been asked to review a game positively for a code, then that stuff needs exposing, and embargoed reviews probably need clearer disclosures." Agree 1000% with this, right? 100%. This is exactly what I was just talking about. The industry plays both sides. We come out and say something, or a bunch of people come out and say something on Twitter or wherever on YouTube and say, obviously this is a biased review. Obviously this is happening. You can't trust this shit. And the journalists go, oh! They clutch their pearls and say, how dare you? How dare you accuse us of this? This is not what we do here. We're fair. We're neutral.
I think what makes it worse, Pong, because again, you let somebody tell you themselves or snitch on themselves, they will. But I think the bigger thing is the people that end up coming to take offense to it or kind of try to come to the defense and say, hey, it's not this. Why are you? You know how the saying goes, if you don't feel like I'm talking about you, then why are you
coming out?
Why are you answering?
Right. Exactly. And then ACG jumped into this late last night. Yeah, I like this. I caught this last night. I was going to bring it up Xbox Ultimate, but we ran out of time, so I didn't. But mad respect for ACG and what he does. Again, I don't agree with all of his points or anything like that, but mad respect for what he does. If he gets a review code, he tells everybody he got a review code, then he goes and buys a copy and gives it away to his community. Right?
Yeah, because he wants integrity. He wants
right. And he will always lay it out the way that he feels.
He should.
It's just an
opinion. Which is why I appreciate it.
But he lays it out. So he jump into this, said, when I brought this up with Cyberpunk, I was told it wasn't a real thing. Some people commenting on this very thread subtweeted, pretended, shadow commented in videos, comments, casts, that it wasn't a thing and that they gave a game a hugely inflated scores. You're also talking about, the console version. Now it's a thing. All kidding aside, no one is owed a code, and I'm glad to see more people finally saying that out loud. Mm-hmm. Also, some dumb PR people then, because giving me a code after some of my most heated reviews seems like the dumbest ass bet you could make. Some companies must have been betting that 4 or waits or wait for a deep sale. Oh, that waits because he doesn't give it a rating. He says a buy, wait for sale.
Yeah.
Or never. Yeah, exactly. Or wait for deep sales meant one buy would finally come. That is straight up roulette betting stupid. So ACG is saying that obviously he has experienced the same thing we're talking about. And he's part of the journalists, right?
Of course.
In his own way.
Bigger name.
But that people deny it when it happens for a game. And now all of a sudden, now we're just going to admit it. Oh, yeah, it happens all the time. Of course. Obviously, this was probably a shot at Grubb's comments. I mean, again, this journalism as a whole has been, in my opinion, going downward for a long time. Game journalism is no different. It's affected by the same disease that it is everywhere else. And until we get clarity, until they start becoming transparent, until the bigger mainstream come out and start talking about this stuff openly and name calling, again, we know for a fact that Sony has pulled credentials from people before for giving a bad review. Although that's supposed to be, no, that's all bullshit. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Those stories are out there, folks, if you want to go find them. But until the mainstream media starts calling out these companies and saying this is exactly what happened and shining light on it, like ACG said, bring it out in the open, start talking about it when it happens to you or why you gave this review because you were scared. Until that starts being honest, then again, the hypocrisy defeats everything that you're trying to say that we're supposed to trust about your reviews, about what you say about certain console makers, what you're out here trying to give as far as information goes to all of us as gamers. That's all gone. Your integrity is washed, okay? You have none. And again, Wired did none of you any favors. Why aren't all of you sites, you journalists out here tweeting about Wired saying, hey, this doesn't represent us. We don't agree with what Wired's doing over there. No. Because you do think of yourselves as this elite little community who's above everybody else. And so you guys all rally around and you circle the wagons every single fucking time and protect these people instead of coming out and calling them out like we do and say, you know what? This is bullshit. Make your statement, but don't put this out as an official review. Don't put that out there in this realm along with all of our official reviews and say, oh no, this is legit. No, it's not legit. And you can sit in here and say, well, we all know it's not legit. You can look at that 1 out of 10 and know it's not legit. Doesn't matter. It should never be put out here. If you want to if you want people to take you seriously in your profession, then you have to protect your profession as a whole from people who like to do this nonsense. So again, hats off to all the people who reviewed the game fairly, who looked at it for a game. You made your statement about everything else going on. That's cool with me outside of the review. That's fine. I don't have an issue with any of you saying that. If you decided not to buy the game because of the issues, because you have a personal feeling or moral standing about J.K. Rowling and you believe that that should be applied to the game and you stated that fact, good for you. But if you came in here with some fake bullshit reviews, if you are out here bullying people and calling people phobes and ists because they may have had played the game or want to play the game, or if you're out here trying to tell people how they're supposed to think and act to be a part of your little group, then you are in the wrong completely 100,000%. Do not bring that nonsense into this. Do not try to control other people and try to make people feel bad for something. Make your statement, list your facts, have a discussion with the people who want to have a discussion about it, but do not start attacking other people. That goes for all situations across the board. Do not attack people for a video game that has a dev team that put their livelihood into this game, their passion, their love for a universe.
Hell.
Do not take away from that. This is art. You're now attacking artists. And I'm sick and tired of that shit happening all the time. Again, not everything has to come down to this. Not everything has to be, oh, I hate you because you like this thing. No. Just say, I don't like this thing. These are my reasons. I'm taking a stand. Cool. We are good. That is fine.
But don't crucify me if I don't take your stand.
Do not try to take other people to task because they don't agree with you. Period.
Nah, and 1,000%, I don't think I could agree anymore. Again, there's definitely a multiple sides of it, and I've said this story here, and I'll always say it, and I always come back to it. It's part of the reason why I wanted to do podcasting, right? Because I got tired of people talking about things that I had knowledge about or that I was enjoying, and that I have a lot of dedication to and love for, talk about it as if they just don't care, just because it's a job. And again, look, I understand that too, where you've been doing something for so long. I can understand if you play games every day, that was your job. All you can do is play games. Some of us would enjoy that, but others, I can see how that could wear down on you because, I mean, not everybody's going to like playing every game that they play. Right? Not everybody's a Pong who likes to raise and try out different games, where Pong might like getting paid to play multitudes of different games. And you know what I'm saying? That would be great for him. And he could review them all equally and say, hey, this is what I liked about it. This is what I didn't. I actually think Pong would probably be pretty good at that. People might crucify him now games. because they say, that he doesn't beat all of his games. But again, I think we're also in a space where we also have to be honest and say that the other thing that I'm missing from reviews too is if you forced yourself to get through a game, be honest about that too. Say, oh man, I felt like the game was good up to a point and then it just fell off. Like for me, like I would be terrible as a reviewer because everybody would want the smoke from me. I'd be like, yeah, I played 3 hours and I just couldn't. Y'all would have hated me if I would have gave a review for Red Dead Redemption 2. Y'all would have killed me. You would have been all like, oh, there's another 40 hours to play though. And I would have told you it shouldn't take a game beyond 20 hours to make sure that you're invested.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we have a game in Hogwarts Legacy is a good example of that. But really, I believe and have believed, because I've been gaming for a while and I've also have been put in a situation where I have to look at games differently, I guess, and that's why I don't place too much blame on reviewers having the view on games that they have, because maybe you didn't have the opportunity. You could say yes to everything. You've been getting games for a long time. Whereas for me, I've always had to make a decision. Now I'm making a decision based on time, where you can make a decision based on, you're making a decision based on time too, but that is your job. So there's going to be a vast difference, especially for me being the consumer and you being the quote unquote professional or the person that's went to school or whatever the case. But I do agree with Pong that at what point do we start having conversation about things outside of the product that gets put out there, right? Let's talk about what they put in Red Bull. Let's talk about what they put in Monster. Let's talk about who's behind your electric company. Let's talk about where you're getting your shoes from. Let's talk about where you're getting your clothes from. Let's talk about where you're getting your phones from. If you really want to have that type of conversation, let's talk about who we're getting our consoles from. If we really want to have that type of conversation. Stopping it at the software now with gaming, especially, and there's certain things that I can't say because there are a lot of conversations like One Away Dragon brought it up earlier. Politics, religion, and what people could do with their body or things is very difficult topics to talk about now. Me personally, I don't mind having any of those conversations because at the end of the day, how do you learn from people if you're not willing to talk to them? I'm never going to crucify somebody for their beliefs. I can't say, hey, I agree to disagree, or I don't think that way. I don't feel that way for these reasons. And we can have a conversation at that. I never understand why at that point it has to become well, now I have to attack you, make you feel less than or not equal to, when behind the basis of a lot of the things that we believe in, that's not the case, right? But people feel the need. We also are in a time where people do feel like they have to justify themselves on every front and across the board. But it would be really crazy to think, and this is another one of Pong's points too, that journalists aren't jaded. You're in the you're in the major part of the industry. You're shaking hands with these people that we talk about all the time. Elite Crews was popping. But you're part of that same grandstanding. So you also have to have some semblance of an understanding, for lack of a better way to say that, for why people may feel that you could be jaded or that you could be paid off. Which is weird when people do come to the defense of people. Again, whether you like leaks or not, it is somebody's job. Again, every industry has a avenue for information to get out or things to be shared. Again, competition wouldn't exist today if these things weren't the case. We could talk about the integrity of it all and all that. I still feel like that's a completely different conversation, right? Because even leakers have a certain form of integrity to them, right? Like Tom Henderson that Pong was mentioning. He's not signing any paperwork, so if he's leaking it. And that's his own credibility, whether people still give him information or not. There's a lot of people who want to give out information. That's the other thing that people seemingly think, and I saw this point get brought up too, you have all these people who are working in marketing, they're working, day in, day out for their product or whatever they created to just get leaked out. If it's good, that gets people excited, especially when it comes to gaming. Like when you're talking about this in the reference to gaming, that doesn't make sense. If you leak an image to me, as you can say, marketing worked their ass off and try to keep it all. Well, your security wasn't good enough, so an image got leaked out. You're mad because the people didn't like it, and that's the problem that I mainly have, and that I mainly see is that when it's one way, that's when it's a problem. Oh, Cyberpunk, good example, Pong. As much as me and you love Cyberpunk from day one. I played on PC, Pong played on the Series X, and it is a crime that they release that game as it was on previous gen consoles. That is a crime. I will completely hold that against them for that. That is fucked up. Nobody mentioned that in their reviews, though.
No, because they're all playing the PC version.
So you're not going to tell me that's not jaded? You can't tell me that, hey, if you were sent a chair from this place, that you would be a little bit more favorable.
Sure.
Now, you don't have to be. You could say, no. Hey, they sent me these things, but I still have to and people have taken that stand, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to feel like people are attacking you when they're bringing up that opposite end of the conversation. Unless, the saying goes, if the shoe fits, wear it. Mm-hmm. The other thing that we're also concerned about as humans nowadays is what everybody else fucking thinks. Guys, I got a little secret. Nobody's thinking about you. They're thinking about what to go. Some people, sure. There's definitely a way more minority of people who are worried about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis than you think.
Yeah.
And the things that make people unique is the things that they stand for. In the internet space, you can only present yourself by what you put out there. Mm-hmm. And you can only be judged by such as well, which is important for you to know how to present yourself, for lack of a better way to put it. But don't get mad when information isn't presented the way you want it to be. And that goes along with the saying, like, you can't expect for people to think like you think. People don't have the same morals as you. People don't think the same way you do. People don't like the same things you do. And people see the world many different ways. Literally, the universe revolves around you at the end of the day. I don't want to make it all psychological right now, but
philosophical.
Like Nick says, LSS PSA, you ain't special. You're not.
Right?
I don't know if that has to be a wake-up call to you. You're not. And it's okay. But what makes you unique? You don't have to be special, but what makes you unique? What makes Jez unique? He doesn't give out information unless he has information to back it up. What makes Jeff Grubb unique, regardless of his views and how he thinks about things or whatever the case, he does some of the same thing. He won't stand on information unless he has the info to back it up. What makes Tom Henderson unique? Hey, he stands on his square. Mm-hmm. What makes all these ACG unique, for an example? I'm just running down the line. What makes Bitcash unique? You have to find what works for you. But game journalists can't be mad when we bite back and say there's an obvious bias. But you can't just say just because, oh, there has to be a bias because the game is getting reviewed well. Not everybody's worried about your stereotypical bullshit. Or what you think is more of a concern than anything else in your life.
Right.
Again, the weirdest thing for
opinions.
Me, at the end of the day, it's all opinion. But the weirdest thing for me is that when you take a stance with a video game, but you don't take that stance with anything else that you do in real life. Make that make sense. You don't do it when you're fighting your fight for Apple and Samsung or Apple and Android. You're not doing it then. You're not doing it with your car. You're not doing it with the cable companies. You're not doing it with the hospitals. You're not doing it with your cell phone provider. Who else are you doing this with? Oh, but because this chick created this world, she has these, again, that's a whole different 3-hour podcast that we could have about that. And many people may not, or we could have a good conversation, but it's completely separate from a great game being made by people who had no direct influence by the original creator other than the existence of her world already. And if you actually played the game to understand that, you could tell that beyond Harry Potter, beyond that IP, these devs did what I speak to all the time, put their heart, soul, passion into a game so that it can be displayed as such. And from moment to moment, I am having a very difficult time as somebody who is playing the game, figuring out why people have to have some sort of hate for it. It's the same thing that people felt, again, it's a continuing stigma. Because even when Harry Potter was popular back in the day, it had nothing to do with JK at that point. It was, oh, Harry Potter is of the devil. Magic is of the devil.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That's been around forever.
Now we don't want to have this conversation.
It has been around forever. That started D&D, heavy metal music, all of it.
So it's even deeper rooted than that. So you're just using this as an excuse for you not to speak out on something else. Oh, there's a different topic that's bringing it forward. So let's talk about it again.
And ignore the fact that the devs of this game also went out of their way
to represent
everything you claim that JK is against. They went out of their way to represent that in this game. Like, ignore that completely. Like, the devs themselves made their own statement. And you're just ignoring that statement.
It's not good enough.
Right.
Well, just because again, I heard somebody use a Nazi reference earlier in the week. I was like, good Lord. But I mean, I see what they're saying. Just because people's grandparents were Nazis doesn't mean that you're not. Like, I get you. It's an extreme example, but I get you. But there is an aspect for you to kind of look at it at. Again, very strong aspect, but it has some semblance. Jasper says this game could have been celebrated by the trans community because it's one of the first major games to have a trans character. And again, I think the character that they put in there on Main Street was actually done pretty well. I mean, at first I was like, okay. But then as the mission progressed, the story progressed, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Why not?
It's fine. Again, who cares?
Why does it matter? I mean, I'm also not ignorant to the fact that this wasn't a thing thousands of years ago.
No, but they made a statement. They did it. They made a statement. It's in the game. It's in a positive light, which is all that anybody asked for. Yeah. And you guys are still trying to bully people into not playing this game. Like, again, you defeat your whole purpose by doing this shit. You kill your whole narrative by doing this. Everything that you want people to hear you saying, they completely ignore you now because you are taking this route. Again, it does not work. And I will say that to the end of days, it does not work by doing this. And again, if the journalism community, the mainstream journalism community, wants to be taken serious and they want us to believe that they're doing their jobs to the best of their ability, that it's completely 100% professional, then start cleaning up your goddamn house. When somebody in your why do you think Steele and I speak out about community stuff? Right? We speak out about community stuff because we do know that this community represents, even though it's a small thing, it's a small percentage of the masses. If we're ever to get to that big, wide audience, when people jump in, what's one of the first things they see? If they jump into this Twitter community, this specific Twitter community that we're a part of, what's one of the first things they're going to see? A bunch of clowns running around talking a bunch of fucking nonsense.
Yeah.
Not contributing in a positive manner to the gaming industry.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's just jokes and we're just having fun. Somebody from the outside doesn't understand that. Yeah. That's why Steele and I talk about this shit, right? But the same has to go for the journalists. The journalists have to clean up their shit. If they want to be taken seriously, if they want to improve their image, if they want to improve the trust levels, then when something like this happens, it has to be calling out. It has to be called out openly. If, like Tom Henderson, ACG, was having the conversation, if a company is asking you to review a game positively or telling you, hey, we're going to give you this review code, but this is exactly what you need to say, then name and shame that shit. Then name and shame it every single freaking time it happens. And if you guys have stories about Sony, about Xbox, about Nintendo blacklisting yourself or somebody else within your journalistic community over a review or over a non-review or whatever the case may be, call that out every single time. That's how you start building trust with people. That's how you start showing that you have the morals you claim you do, the integrity that you claim you do, that you deserve the trust that you claim that you do. Start calling that out every single time. Right. Name and shame it publicly. Because guess what? Enough of you start doing that, and the BS is going to start to go away. Enough of you start calling it out, and what are these companies going to do? Stop giving IGN codes all the damn time, even though they're one of the biggest mainstream journalist sites out there? No, gaming industry sites? No, they're not going to do that. If enough people do it, it'll start making them second guess doing that garbage. It'll make them start pulling back from that nonsense.
Or maybe we'll just get better games for it. Right. How about that?
That too.
How about we'll start? You guys care about the consumer so much, you get all up in arms when consumers are mentioned, but then you're willing to go against what you're supposed to stand for to sell us a bad product. That's what you'd rather do for a check, which is, if you think that I don't believe that's happening, come on. For a check, you goddamn right people are selling themselves out for a check. People got a price. Mm-hmm. Now, not everybody would jump for a certain price, and there's other things, other numbers that I could, like for me, for an example, yeah, certain numbers could maybe make me jump a little bit, but other numbers could make me could definitely, I would take a smaller amount to make potentially more and have my integrity, this is just from me, than I would to sell out for a bigger amount. Mm-hmm. That's just me. Mm-hmm. And there are billions of people who do not have that moral standing.
No, of course not.
Because we're human. And I just wouldn't expect that. Right? But you gotta figure out how to work your space and what works for you. And again, just like we're gonna continue to go back to, what is your line? And if that's your line, then stand on it. But then when I mention other things about your line, don't go up and don't throw your arms up and be like, oh, why'd you bring that up? I mean, I thought you had a line. It continues a conversation. That's always going to be my biggest point. Don't be expected for there not to be a pushback. It is what it is. Elite Cruz says, got a little deep here. He says, as an atheist, I don't mind LGBTQ content in video games. It brings variety, but some people hate that stuff to a point that they will bully. This world is already stressful with abuse, racism, etc. And when this is supposed to be, again, a form of entertainment, you know what entertainment means, guys? We need to look up the literal definition, but it is something that is supposed to distract you from reality. It's entertainment. This has existed for ages. Whether it was in, I mean, do you would rather go to a coliseum and watch people kill each other? That what you would want to rather do every day than playing the game?
Are you not entertained?
I'm just saying. I mean, there's always been some form of entertainment.
And right? the reverse is there as well, yeah. Elite. Like, again, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like,
appreciate you for saying.
And again, yeah, absolutely. And if you don't, if something doesn't appeal to you, then you don't play it. But we also have the reverse happening when somebody creates something nowadays, and if it doesn't check off certain boxes, then the media goes after that from time to time as well. And that's wrong. As a creator, you should be allowed to create what you want to, and you don't have to check off certain boxes to be acceptable. But they've started down that road as well. Again, I'm all for creatives creating whatever the hell they want. Whatever their vision is, create it. Don't care. If I'm interested in it, I'm going to go check it out. If I'm not interested in it, I won't check it out. Again, there's nothing wrong with that mentality. But again, it goes both ways. So I don't want to get to a point where creatives have to check off certain boxes to be accepted or to get, favorable press or conversations happening around it. I want them to create what they want. And then if somebody doesn't like it, they don't like it. If somebody loves it, they love it. That's it, period, point blank. So, yeah.
Again, I love the virtual worlds that we're able to go to, because again, it's like I'm going to a art museum almost every day. You know what I mean? And I'm stepping into, this is the closest that I will get right now, and stepping into an actual virtual world, right? To where I can literally appreciate, hey, someone created this. I'm able to, through a controller, get some of those same feelings and say, wow, like I get in Hogwarts Legacy. Again, I'll just use an example, and I know people have this with other games. I had it in Mass Effect. Again, I haven't had this same feeling about a game since I played Mass Effect, right? So again, it does demonstrate to you that there are certain games that kind of elevate that for you, right? Or hit that same line that you're kind of anticipating. And helps you appreciate why you even do this in the first place. And again, I think that's what we always need to come back to. Why are you doing this in the first place? If you can't determine that, or if you're running from that, then you may want to do some more internal kind of schooling, for lack of a better way to put it. So that you'll be okay, man, because the internet's going to continue to be a crazy place. People are going to continue to say whatever they want. People are going to continue to act crazy. And the more we get away from being able to have conversation and not hate each other for the conversation, the more difficult a time we're going to have, not only in the gaming community, because again, this is just gaming. Guys, we're people at the end of the day, and I know you see this happen in every other aspect of your life. Family, religion, politics, you see it in those things. Why do we have to do it right here instead of sticking to something that we have the most impact in? We literally do. We determine how the gaming industry is going to continue to move. They have to continue to make the product. We force them to innovate. That's why Microsoft spends $8 to $10 billion in gaming. That's why VR has become this thing. AR is becoming this thing. The future has to progress. Do you guys literally want robots to replace our way of thinking, AI to replace our way of thinking? To come to see that, again, getting a little deep here. But my overall point is we have to be able to have a conversation at the end of the day, and not just hate each other, and be honest also with our viewpoints. Hey, this is what it is, and go from there. And at the end of the day, feel like I'm rambling a little bit, so I'll stop it there. I think it was a great conversation to have. Pong, is there anything additionally that you would like to add on the topic? Because again,
we covered it.
As much as I feel like I was rambling, I do think it is important overall as a conversation piece, and should continuously be. I know a lot of people like to run from this. Oh, we're only going to talk gaming, and that's fine. I get you, But again, if you guys haven't learned anything now, 91 episodes in, me and Pong come directly from the heart. We are going to talk about, but again, the central point is always going to be gaming focused. But there's so many things because me and Pong do have the biggest similarities. A lot of our views, even though there may be some form of cultural differences, we still share a lot of similar views, and it's a lot of similar aspects as far as how we see people and how we see life, kind of. So I think it's important. It's an important part of the show, an important part of the industry as we plan to expand out.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, Steel.
Lord Master Jasper says Chat GPT gave a good review for Hogwarts, so I'm good with AI. Again, because the AI is probably judging the game against other games. I mean, again, it's also going to depend on how the code's written, because again, that's still
it's definitely biased. Chat GPT has already been proven to be biased, so it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Let's sing another interesting thing that really kind of threw me up in arms this week and has me kind of debating whether I'm going to continue to dive within this into this IP.
Yeah.
Call of Duty.
Oh yeah.
Call of Duty potentially having a full-on release this year outside of Modern Warfare 2.
What? Still, we were just supposed to be getting paid DLC. What are you talking about?
Made by Sledgehammer Games.
Oh, Steel, this is just going to be an expansion. It's just going to be paid $70 DLC. That's what they told us. No? Not happening? Just taking a year off, Steel? No?
Pong, let me tell you something. Before I get into this, because I will get into this article from insider-gaming.com. Shout out to Insider Gaming. But if this ends up being true, I will feel a multitude of different ways about it, and I will not support. I will say that. I will continue to play Warzone when they put out additional content. I've kind of put down the multiplayer for Call of Duty currently because, again, I'm at the max of the season. I'm basically where I need to be at. I'm not a camo grinder. I don't do that. I might as well just move on to the next game that I want to play. But I will be jumping back in when the next season starts because, again, I want to be back in there. They're also bringing ranked gameplay in. But if anything, I think what'll end up happening for me is that I'll just stick within this Call of Duty and just ride it out until we get a proper full-on release. And again, I can only judge this by what we've seen from Activision recently, and it's become evident that them releasing games year over year was not working for them. But seemingly, they said, "Oh, we made $1 billion in a week anyway. Let's just make another game." And I'm extremely worried about that because it's kind of, I don't know if when the Activision Blizzard deal with Microsoft ends up going through, whether they can put a hot pause on that, or if this is still rumors at the end of the day, and this could just be an add-on to Modern Warfare 2. I'm hoping that it is, because we're supposed to be getting a ton of maps in Modern Warfare 2, and we haven't gotten that yet. So they were supposed to be like remaking all the maps, or we're going to be like over 40 maps in this game, damn near, something like they said before. It was just supposed to be crazy. And now seeing this, it's like, why would you make Modern Warfare 3? That's the only other thing that I could think that you could be making right now, other than because I know there was a previous rumor that Black Ops might be coming back. That they may be remaking the first Black Ops. Or kind of what they did with Modern Warfare, they're do the same thing with Black Ops now.
Do you want Sledgehammer to be
No. That's I think that's the biggest. Sledgehammer could be working on the current Call of Duty instead of trying to make a new game. Sledgehammer has not made good Call of Duty games, in my opinion. If it's not out of Infinity War or Treyarch, I'm not playing it. I don't want to touch it.
World War II was alright.
Was okay.
I liked it. I put a lot of hours into it.
I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people were interested in it. Where that definitely was a highlight for them. I didn't like it myself, but again, I also don't like old war games like.
Sure.
Not anymore. Thus, I've spent my time playing that. God damn. Let me move on.
No.
It's just. I think that's the biggest problem for me is that you have one of your weaker Call of Duty divisions working on this game.
Yeah.
And if it is a outside experience from Modern Warfare 2,
Yeah,
when you're lacking content now
correct.
and are now backtracking certain decisions that you end up making when you created this new war zone and how you're implementing things into Modern Warfare 2, it's like I gotta consistently hold your feet to the fire. Like, what the hell? I thought y'all were in trouble. I thought y'all were having financial issues. I thought y'all were trying to do things differently. And if you're not going to, it's like, why would I support that then? But again,
Fuzzy brought up an interesting point. Steel, Fuzzy brought up an interesting point last night. Steel, Fuzzy brought up an interesting point.
Yeah.
He said, what happens if Activision did this to fulfill contractual obligations with Sony?
Now, if they did that, that's fucking petty as hell. That's along the lines of like a rap deal or like what a lot of musicians do. I mean,
yeah, but it makes sense with how Sony's been treating this whole acquisition. So Activision is like, okay, all right, then we're going to fulfill that contract sooner than later, and we're just going to make this a full-fledged game. We'll give you your beta. We'll give you your marketing rights. We'll hype this thing up, but we're going to fulfill that contract soon.
See, but I feel like that's even worse because you're spending all these resources just to get out of a contract.
No, because they already were doing this, but they just took the DLC and made it a little bit bigger. All hands on deck, push it out the door. They know the reception is going to get because it's Sledgehammer, but they are fulfilling a contract instead of pushing paid DLC. I'm just saying, Fuzzy brought it up last night and I had to sit back and think about it and be like, you know what? With everything that's going on, with how Sony isn't returning Activision phone calls, Activision wants this deal to go through. All the shareholders want this deal to go through. Activision's throwing the middle finger to Sony and being like, okay, here's a full-fledged game for you. we'll wrap up this contract.
If that's the case,
yeah.
And again, I think if we end up seeing the deal go through, I think that would end up showing us more than anything, right? Because if it does end up being the case and then they don't release a Call of Duty that following year, although that kind of would fall in line with whatever, I do think they should take off a full year at that point, support both their games at that point, especially with Call of Duty Mobile now, Warzone Mobile now also becomes its own thing. So you're supporting those three things while you innovate for your new Black Ops or you innovate for your new Modern Warfare. Because I mean, they could do Modern Warfare 3. I do think they have the potential to fucking definitely do it better than the original one. Because Modern Warfare 3 was ass. And especially after Black Ops hit the way that it did. But if it's for contractual, that's a petty move. And now that that's like on the tip of my mind now, because it's like, wow. But at the same point, it's like I have to take it for what it is currently, and say the only thing that it would have to make sense is that if it was a contractual agreement. Because other than that, why would you push out another game when this game is doing as well as it is in Modern Warfare 2, other than to keep status quo and say, oh, we release games every year. Right. We're just going to keep doing it.
It could be a shareholder move too. I mean, again, they're addicted to this money. They're addicted to the yearly release. Maybe they looked at things and said, we have to put this out under the assumption that the deal doesn't go through. For our shareholders, we need another full release game, right? That's certainly possible.
Yeah, and so it's like now I'm of two minds. After you bring you bring that up, so it's like it has to be one of those two ways. It can't be anything in between. And I guess again, you can say, "Oh, well, still, you're not going to know anyway. You're just guessing." I mean, of course I'm guessing. I mean, what else can I do when there's no factual information behind it? It's a rumor at the end of the day. This could come out and it's just DLC. For Modern Warfare 2 like it was originally planned. That could be the full-on case.
And Tom said that. Tom said that because he said, just take this like everything else with a grain of salt. He goes, things change all the time. And he goes, that's kind of what I'm hearing happened here is like things changed. So, but still take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, because the other thing too, they were planning on releasing a full-body DLC anyway.
Yeah, for $70. It was going to be a $70 DLC. They
There's going to
announced
be
it.
an add-on camp to the campaign and everything. So it's like, and it's going to have a bunch of maps, and that was the plan. So I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see if it plays out that way. That's definitely that's the Destiny mythology. So methodology. So I mean, hey, you want to do it that way. I don't know how much credibility I'll put out behind it, but it does have me quite interested.
Well, we're going to find out real soon because marketing will start up. Well, as we get closer to summer here, they're going to have to start. We're going to have to start showing stuff eventually here. So, because the dates are supposedly all Tom had all the dates as internally right now, what he's hearing. And it's normal beta, early beta for PlayStation, beta for everybody, second round of beta for everybody. So it's going to be the same thing we saw. And it all starts in, I believe, what was it? October? I think it was October that it all starts again. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just curious about the title. How they're going to title this thing, because again, you title this Modern Warfare 3. Come on, man, you can't do that. You can't title this.
Nah, that's true. You're definitely shooting yourself in the foot at that point.
I mean, Modern Warfare 2 XL. What
That doesn't need to be called anything. It doesn't need to be called any of that.
2.5. What are we doing? Like Mav said, come up with some generic name. Modern Warfare 2 Strike Force.
There you go.
Brought to you by Sledgehammer. That's stupid.
That's a. Call it Modern Warfare 2 Ghost.
Yeah. Right. Do something completely dumb. No. I just don't know how it's going to fit into it. Like you said, Steel, with the fact that they haven't pumped out a ton of content yet for Modern Warfare 2, that's part of the problem, that they haven't dropped big map packs yet or anything. And now you're turning right around and you're all of a sudden going to introduce this game.
Yeah, I don't like the way that it sounds. It sounds really off of me. So I'm just gonna leave it. I'm just gonna leave it at that, and hope for the best. Because I mean, again, I have to be honest too, man. A lot of these first-person shooters aren't. It's not what they used to be. Nick says it should be called MW2 Sexy Edition. I mean, I think we're going for something else. They're going to drop some better
anime
characters
edition
in there.
Let's go anime. Let's turn it into anime edition. Let's do that. Just have all anime characters.
Oh my God, here we go.
Oh, bro.
No, how
Modern Warfare 2 Impact.
Oh
yeah.
Yo, I'm dying.
Nice rift off against you.
Call of Duty Magnum.
Yeah, Magnum. There we go.
Modern Warfare 2 Saving Lion Ryan.
Oh my God,
they're stupid. I think what would be dope, and I've been wanting somebody to do this for a little bit, but I wanted if they did Modern Warfare 2 Black Hawk Down, that would be like their version of that. That
Modern
would
Warfare
be dope.
2
DLC.
Delta Force
or something like
that.
that.
Chuck Norris Delta Force. Let's go. Let's go.
It'd be dope. I think that'd be dope.
Chuck Norris skins. Oh, come on, man.
Who doesn't want Chuck Norris skins?
Come on, man.
Chuck Norris can,
soccer players.
Chuck Norris can chop the moon.
Yeah, right.
He can literally, that's funny. That was a whole era of that. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm hoping for the best. But I'll be honest and say first person shooters aren't what they used to be. It takes a lot for them to keep people invested, right? There's certain ones that do hit right now. So like you got Valorant is hitting really hard. Call of Duty is still doing its thing, but Fortnite is still the beast that's kind of got everything within it right now. So I'll hope for the best for it though. Let's see here. So we can touch on the Nintendo Direct. I didn't get to see all of it. I did see the Zelda trailer. So that was a main takeaway for that. That and they showed something for Kirby too, I believe. And then they gave access to some Game Boy games. I got that correct?
Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games as well.
Okay. I mean, we do have the site here from Destructoid for everything that was showing off.
It's in order
Nintendo
too.
Direct. Oh, perfect.
Yep.
So we can't go through that list unless you want to touch on some things really on the front end or kind of just lead into the conversation.
I just think that Nintendo did a great job with this Direct. I saw some people saying, "Oh God, that the Nintendo needs to change their style of the Direct." I don't see where this stuff is coming from. Yes, I would love them to do another E3 showcase style at some point, like a big one, like a future roadmap, but that's not Nintendo right now. They're in a weird spot with, like, they themselves this week also came out and said the Switch is in uncharted territory. and they're not quite sure how they're going to go forward, and they claim that they're not working on new hardware, but I think that's BS. I think that they are getting ready to announce something, and this direct, like a lot of Nintendo fans said, did seem to indicate that they are moving in that direction, that they are planning on announcing something for next year, maybe for new hardware, because everything they kind of showed, Steel, was a throwback. A lot of their stuff, this was older IP that they're throwing back to us again, outside of Zelda and whatnot. But it seems like they're holding back. Like, we know Metroid Prime 4 has got to be somewhere, right? But we don't get Metroid Prime 4. We get Metroid Prime HD, the remaster, right? We get the old game remastered in this direct. But I think overall, again, I guess it's just me as a gamer. I saw a lot of people say, oh, this is a horrible direct. I saw a lot of people loving it, of course, as well, because there's, the Zelda fans are out there in droves, and Metroid fans as well with the remaster. But me as a gamer, again, even though I have zero interest in Nintendo, maybe and I talked about this with Mav, because Mav has zero care for these directs anymore, because he's so disappointed, right? He's a spurned lover right now, right, with Nintendo. And maybe it's because I've been away from Nintendo for so long, since the Super Nintendo. Basically, again, I stole my kid's Game Boy, and his DS to play things like Fire Emblem every once in a while, or Etrian Odyssey. But for the most part, I have had zero interest in owning. So maybe I've just been gone so far long that, I wish Nintendo would try to sell me on something. But at the same time, I can watch these directs and still see things that I'm interested in, because they do show third-party stuff, and they do show games that I go, God, I really wish I had a Nintendo for it. Not that I'm going to go out and buy one, but they still show interesting things. And the flip side is, I also sit back and go, how good would these games look if they were on any kind of updated hardware? Like, how good could these games actually be? So that's always in the back of my head too. But I just thought they did a great job. I thought they gave the fans a little bit of everything in this direct. It was 47 minutes, I think, or something like that. And I thought they did a great job, like I said, kind of giving the whole breadth of their fan base something to look forward to this year. And honestly, it added to 2023's year. And of course, with the shadow drop of Metroid Prime, the remaster, the shadow drop, that was out of the blue surprise, like another shocker. People knew it was in the works, but for them to shadow drop it was cool. I think this is fantastic. So, like I said, I gave it an overall B, but you can go ahead and read off some of the games that they talked about there.
All right. So from what we've seen from Nintendo Direct here, it looks like they actually have the show there too. Let's see.
Yeah, they do. If you scroll down, it says everything's shown, and then it starts off the list.
Waiting for it to load in. Apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. It's taking its time. Taking its time.
Taking its time. We rarely have this. All right, here we go.
All right. I'm gonna kind of go from top to bottom. From what they showed here, and again, someone who didn't watch it live, the show kicked off big with Pikmin 4, spotlighting the new little helpers and a very interesting new camera angle. I've never been a huge fan of Pikmin itself, but if you're into that, again, I know a lot of people, I've watched my wife play some Pikmin, and I've seen some other people get into Pikmin also, so I know there is a crowd out there. There's supposed to be DLC ways for his expansions, and some other third-party reveals. Okay. For Xenoblade. So let's go. Let's see if there's something down here I actually want to.
Yeah, Pikmin. Actually, they're introducing an ice Pikmin. They're introducing a dog Pikmin. Like, they're introducing new mechanics to that game as well. So it's not just going to be a straight Pikmin. But again, it's, if you like Pikmin, you're getting more of it, right?
I hope not. Maybe make something different. No, I'm playing. I'm not gonna be that time. But let's see here.
So it's coming back.
I want to go more so. Let's go with the things that were some heavy hitters, had the people looking, right? Let's get past all the BS. No, I do want to
talk about Fashion Dreamer.
I do want to kind of lead off with The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Sure.
It does look like again, the second iteration of a good first game. So hopefully that does really well. It's going to be interesting to see if they don't end up at least teasing a console release of some sort around this. Did they say here whether they're going to have a special edition console or anything like that?
No, they did announce the special edition for the game though, the box set, which is $130, $140. Because again, first $70 game for Nintendo. Everybody.
Yeah. So, and that was the other big thing that came out of this is that Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom is going to be $70. So again, I mean, take that as you will. If you don't think it's worth that money, I mean, I feel you and I understand you, but again, they know that their base is still buy their games, and $70 has become the standard. I mean, again, you could say that their games aren't worth the $60 that they have you paying. They're only worth 50 to 40. All of that could be an argument, but as long as their consumers continue to pay, they're going to continue to sell. And Nintendo has the biggest attachment rate as far as games go. So when you have that kind of thing working for you, it only makes sense. Now, it doesn't excuse it, and hopefully this game does end up being pretty good. But again, like I had the conversation with my wife earlier when she chimed in. She wants to play it day one. So that's what matters.
And they know it. They know everybody's going to buy it. So, I mean, again, I was listening to the Nintendo fans, in some remarks, and everybody was excited because sure, it looks like Breath of the Wild and more Breath of the Wild, but since they all consider Breath of the Wild one of the greatest games of all time, they're happy with it, right? Why change the formula? Now, the guesswork is in what time frame this takes place in, and nobody on the Nintendo side understands exactly what's happening in this trailer or what the story is actually going to be. There's a lot of guesswork out there, but it does look like a darker toned Nintendo Zelda as well. Yeah, there's some really dark stuff in there if you watch that trailer back. So that has Nintendo fans kind of excited as well, that there is going to be some darker tones to this one. So interesting showing for Zelda. Again, I look at it and I'm like, cool, open world RPG. I have zero interest in Link as a character. Story doesn't interest me. Graphics, they're cool. It's a cool aesthetic that they have. But again, I could name off 100 other open world RPGs I'd rather play. So that's just me. But again, it's Zelda, and they introduced they're going to have a car and they're going to have a flying ship. Which is
a car. Oh wow!
Yeah, like it's like a put together car, and I don't know if you saw, but it looks like Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah,
and you saw that Rare put out a tweet
talking about that.
Rare put out a tweet, yeah, because that's exactly what it looks like, nuts and bolts.
Hey, I mean, you got to get your games from somewhere, right? You got to innovate from somewhere, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody else will ever notice.
Nope.
So is what it is. They also shadow dropped Metroid Prime. But Metroid Prime Remaster was also released. Now, this is kind of one that I've been fighting with a little bit. I've been waiting to see if I could also get it on PC in tandem, so that of course I can have my rights to it, but also play it in a even better light.
60 frames.
It is 60 frames regardless. It's 60 frames on the Switch too, which is again impressive.
Is it really?
Yes.
Is that confirmed?
Yes, it's 60 frames on the Switch.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. If I mean, again, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've seen, people said Metroid Prime is 60 FPS.
Okay.
On
I saw people bragging about it on Steam Deck that it was 60 frames. I hadn't heard that Switch was 60 frames, but
I mean, I could be confusing too. I mean, I figured that's what people were talking about. It was on the Switch. I hadn't seen anybody mention the Steam Deck yet. As far as where they're, I don't doubt it.
Right.
Let's see. And then we talked about Pikmin 4 a little bit there.
No, but I was going to say that the remaster for Metroid Prime, they did a lot of work. Especially Nick put out there kind of half joking, saying this shouldn't be called a remaster. This should be called a remake for how much work was done. And I can see why he had that opinion. Now, he corrected because everybody was blowing him up for saying that. But if you look at side-by-side comparisons, this isn't just a simple like HD remake. Like they redid the visuals, right? They redid a lot of the graphics in this game. It is very well done, and it looks interesting. I've always liked the look of Metroid Prime, so I think it looks cool.
Yeah, Metroid Prime was my thing. Was definitely one of my things back in the day, and it's just kind of like I don't. kind of wanting to jump in there to check it out, see what it's hitting for. Again, the way we had to play it back in the day and the way we're playing it now, we're able to play it now. I think it's going to be a nice addition. So, but I guess we'll find. Let's see. Talk about Pikmin a little bit. Splatoon 3 is getting an expansion. Switch Online gets Game Boy games. Now I know they didn't bring everything, but they had like Tetris, Metroid 2, The Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap, Fire Emblem, and things of that nature. Advance Wars 1 and 2 has a launch date. I know a lot of people are into that.
Yeah, great strategy game. Love strategy games. Advance Wars is one of the best. It's Grub's favorite game, so it's one of those. It's really good.
Yeah. So I know people are hyped for that. So that's interesting. Samba de Amigo Party Central.
Yeah, Sega coming back. Old IP. I love it. Sega's opened up the old library. I mean, it's a rhythm game, so I have zero interest. But man, Samba was a big game back in the day.
Hey, well, whatever's gonna tickle your fancy, right?
Yep.
Then they showed Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. Is getting a new afterlife on the Switch with a release that's not due out in the summer.
And it's coming to Xbox as well.
Oh, nice.
At some point. That was confirmed. So no interest. Game looked kind of cool and certain, but that game didn't catch my attention at all.
Yeah. They also announced Etrian Odyssey is coming to the Switch.
1, 2, and 3 collection. 1, 2, and 3. So not all the Etrian Odysseys, but that is an Atlas game. We now have Atlas with a newfound love for Xbox. So maybe there's hope, because I love Etrian Odyssey. If you guys have been watching Living Splitscreen, you know I've mentioned that multiple times when Steel does This Day in Gaming and it comes up. Classic corridor dungeon crawling RPG. Fantastic characters, fantastic classes. Just an absolute beautiful throwback to the way that we used to play like Might and Magic 2 back in the day. Etrian Odyssey is underrated, and I'm so glad that they're bringing it back out, the collection 1, 2, and 3 for the Switch. And I hope, Atlas, bring it to Xbox, please.
Yeah, 1,000%. For those who are definitely interested, definitely bring them on.
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, the direct seems like it was solid. I mean, it looks like there was things there for everybody. Again, for the hitters to be mainly Metroid Prime remastered and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, again, that's what you were kind of anticipating for Nintendo. Not necessarily Metroid Prime, because I mean, Metroid Prime 4 has been kind of in the conversation, but at least hopefully what they end up doing is also doing the other Metroid Primes, so that they can kind of lead up into that. I think that would do really well for them for sales. Speaking of $70 games, because you just release these for $40 a piece, they'd make a killing off of them. A lot of the people who are interested in Metroid are going to jump right back into it. So again, it's something to consider. And then Legend of Zelda is always going to be always a heavy hitter for them. And again, it's going to pull the main crowd back, and hopefully when they're ready to release this, they have some form of an announcement of a future Switch device that they plan on releasing, something of a better quality. Because I know they're also trying to figure out how they evolve their ecosystem, because I don't know if constantly making people start over is going to work for Nintendo again, right? Nintendo has been the main one that has been kind of consistent on that, except for like the Wii U kind of generation. But as far as every other generation, you had to start completely over. So maybe they're trying to figure some of that stuff out in the back end, and well, we'll end up seeing. So shout out to Nintendo.
Yeah, a couple more. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. I know there's a lot of Kirby fans out there. That's coming out as well. Again, all this stuff was for this year still. So I mean, this is a lot, like a lot. I got to shout out Deca Police as well, which is a new anime style RPG coming. Super cool aesthetic. The graphics look phenomenal. Again, in that style, it's cartoons, right? It's anime, so it's got the timeless style, which the Switch can pull off just fine. But you're a police officer, so you got to solve crimes and stuff too. But it's got classic JRPG battle system to it as well. Looks really, really cool. And then the other one, Code Rain. Code Rain looks phenomenal. Phenomenal. As another Rain Code, I had that backwards. Rain Code from Chunsoft. And again, Chunsoft we've seen some Chunsoft come on over to Xbox now. So maybe at some point we see this one, but it's coming out June 30th. But that game looks phenomenal as well. Trying to think if there was anything else off the top of my head that was trying to refresh here. I think that's about it. I mean, they had a bunch of they showed off Bayonetta, that new the Bayonetta Origins game, that weird one, the top-down view where she's like a little girl. They actually showed off some of the combat this time around. Steel.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, you are Bayonetta, but you are a support character. You don't actually attack. You have a demon dog that does all the attacking.
They did something in 3 too.
Yeah, you stun the enemies, and your demon dog goes out and automatically attacks. So you got to kind of strategize who you want to stun and who you don't want to. I just realized my camera was off, by the way.
No,
but yeah, they also showed that one off. Not the Bayonetta I was looking for, but whatever. There's going to be people that enjoy it, so it looks different. Let's put it that way. So.
No, it definitely does. So shout out to Nintendo, doing their thing. And, you know, as you could tell, not necessarily for us mainly, although some of that will be a pull in.
Yeah.
But let's see what they end up doing with this year, man. This might be another year where they kind of decide what direction that they want to go, and let's see which way they jump. That's what's going to
Zelda's going to carry. Zelda's going to sell more Switches. Zelda's going to
more than likely
it's going to be a monster sales wise this year. They'll wait until after they drop Zelda to announce their new system, I think, going into next year. But I'm still on the spring next year for a new system from Nintendo.
We'll see. Yeah. I'd probably get in line with that. I mean, I wanted something to be teased out at least by the fall or something to see where they're kind of standing at. And what kind of price range that they want to get people in, whether it is, like I was mentioning to the people earlier, whether it is they do want to keep everybody in the same ecosystem and just release like a Switch Pro, or whatever the case. Which, I mean, again, if you stay in line with what they're previously known for, that only makes sense. And at this point in the gen, it's like, why change anything other than give people more hardware that they could use? Now you have different. You have your Switch Lite, which you don't ever have to change, and then the people that have the normal Switch, you'll have access to it. But then now the new main system will be the Switch Pro and then the Switch Lite. Those would be your two options. And I mean, that is a perfect way to move forward. And if they are able to figure out something with the base to help with up-resing, or again, get with the company that does it through a different device that you plug in through to your HDMI. I don't know. Maybe they'll be able to do something with some upscaling technology or whatever.
Well, yeah, because the rumor was NVIDIA, right? They're working directly with NVIDIA again, and
DLSS is going to get involved.
DLSS, that's what they talked about. That would be a huge improvement in itself if they can even get the dock to upscale it, like you said, Steel, on my 4K. That would definitely be an improvement. Right, that would definitely be something. At
least you don't have to see that's my thing. If you're gonna have, it's one thing if you're gonna rest on your style, quote unquote, which we know it's more than that. They just obsessed with making money, and they're making so much goddamn money the way they're doing it right now.
But Steel, that's why they needed $70 games. Steel.
Yeah, I bet.
What do you think the budget is for Zelda? What do you think the budget is for Zelda?
I don't know, man.
We know AAA games for Xbox and PlayStation are right around 80, or between 50 and 100 million for most of them, right?
Yeah.
And Last of Us, with 2,000 people working on it, Halo Infinite, we're well above that, probably. So, but between 50 million and 100 million, what do you think Zelda costs? Like, ballpark be 10? 15,
considering they look like they're using the same exact word.
Right.
No.
Right. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Maybe in that aspect, because you don't have to work as much as into certain details.
Yeah.
Sitting there creating all the different character elements and all that.
It's unacceptable. Again, called it out for Sony, called it out for Xbox, called it out for 2K, called it out for EA, called it out for all of them. $70 games is unacceptable in this industry. But like, Nintendo doesn't even have the excuse, Steel, like, oh, our games cost more now. They don't even have that. They don't have that excuse built in. Like, there's no reason. They're making hand over fist on every single product they put out. hand over fist, including the system.
Mhm.
That system probably costs them what, $50 to make now?
Now,
Maybe.
probably. Yeah.
And they're charging $300 still? Come on, man. Hand over fist, and you come out with $70 games simply because you know your fan base will pay it for Zelda.
They can do that, man. I mean,
it's a business decision. They can do it, but it's unacceptable.
It's not.
It's ridiculous.
But that's also the market that they've put themselves in, and it's worked for them. That's what makes them unique in that way. I mean, it's not acceptable. But what other device can you get those style of games on unless you're going to become a pirate of some sort or figure out the ways to run it the proper way? Shout out to Kay Asante, who would be able to demonstrate and show you how to do it the proper way. I could too, but I'm not teaching you. You show yourself. But no, I mean, you know, there are other ways, but when you can only get a certain type of product in a certain area. I mean, again, it speaks to exclusivity, but I do think Nintendo are also shooting themselves in the foot I do think that Nintendo should dive into the PC market more. You don't have to make it accessible to anybody else, but if you are worried about people stealing games, then you need to make your games accessible to more of the console market. If you're not, then just put it on PC, have your game go back and forth between the Switch and PC, and I lead that market, because Lord knows if Nintendo did that and they went in tandem with PC, good God, they would have a fucking following. Mm-hmm. That would be, you know how many they would get. I mean, piracy would also be so much further up the chain. Yeah, but again, Nintendo being serious about those things, they could find a way out how to, you know, to make that viable. But I don't know. It's interesting to see how they continue to do things differently. I mean, and again, we want companies to be different, to act different, and to do different, and that's why it's hard for me to complain about Nintendo, because they are doing it differently. Like, what can I say about that? They're living proof that the stuff that the FTC and the CMA and all these people who bring it up reasons why that doesn't work. Like, for your reason to be, because it's different, that's not a good reason. No, it's still gaming, and they literally have the monopoly. They literally are the this is it. This is the top of the line, but they're not seen that way. I mean, again,
third best-selling device of all time, folks. Third best-selling, just surpassed Game Boy and PS4.
All time, bro.
Ooh. Man, oh man,
it's crazy. It's craziness, but I mean, it is what it is. They're gonna have their base. We're gonna have our base. I think the bigger point, they do have to figure out how to expand it, and they got to be thinking about those. They're not ignorant. I know it's hard for me to say, but
they're happy where they are still.
But it's also 2023, and if you don't innovate, if you don't innovate your ecosystem at the very least,
steal. They didn't innovate
run into some problems.
They didn't innovate their internet. How long?
I mean, they said they're going to do it in the next one.
What was it, Steel, when they last updated it? What, a year and a half ago? I think it was. They last updated their internet. Somebody said that they found kernels of like Windows CE in there or some shit.
Yeah. You know, Windows XP type. You know, We got to go back. You know, it worked good back then. It's all good. It's dependable. No, it's not, but it is what it is. Yeah. Again, we'll continue to speak out on our indifferences here, and again, it's I still will play some of their games when I can. Again, I think it's a disservice to Bayonetta. I will continuously say that the game news came out this week. The game sold over 1 million copies, and I was telling Pong in the DMs, like that is so terrible. Bayonetta has the potential, especially nowadays, with people more so realizing these more action combat oriented games, especially of her ilk, bro. Yeah. She could have easily sell 5 million copies. Yeah. Easily. You made it accessible to everybody. Not everybody just wants to play Bayonetta on a Switch. Like, I don't know, on a Nintendo platform. Like, that's just that style of game. And Bayonetta 3 is actually pretty dope. Like, I like
120 frames with updated graphics.
It's such a missed opportunity.
Like Devil May Cry.
But that's what I'm also saying. Like, it has to be something beyond just money, because somebody could offer you the money, you drop it on all platforms, or you drop it on all platforms, you bring in more money. Like, how is that a negative for you? Especially on certain IPs. I just
Fire Emblem could be gigantic, more gigantic. Xenoblade Chronicles could be more gigantic than it is. All of them. All of them could sell more.
I don't get it. And I guess you could say, oh, well, Spider-Man could be bigger than what it is if it was on platform.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, but at least Spider-Man came to PC. Like, again.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Xbox. I'm not talking about Xbox. I mean, Bayonetta is platinum, but Nintendo paid for it, so whatever. They've got it. It is what it is. But yeah, I feel bad that nobody else offered platinum money to bring Bayonetta to current gen consoles. I don't understand this mentality. Like I said, Steel, I think that some of these places need like gamers who understand the community better. And I know business decisions can't be made off of that all the time, but there are things missed within these companies that shouldn't be missed, right? That should be looked at. Games don't get enough, because again, when you're dealing with human beings in positions that may not necessarily be the mainstream enthusiast gamer in those business meetings, there are things, there are games, there is content that's going to be missed or dismissed without a second thought that should be looked at. Again, there's no way Xbox should be missing out on Stellar Blade. There's no way they should be missing out on that when they want to hit the East. There is no way in hell you like a game, go to PlayStation when you are trying to position themselves in the East for a much bigger market. You can't. Stellar Blade is going to be, again, if it comes out broken and the mechanics are shit, then it's going to be a fail. But all signs are pointing that game is going to be a Devil May Cry, Bayonetta style game that is going to be gigantic in the East because it's got the Eastern flavor. It's got that aesthetic, and Xbox missed on that big time. And again, Bayonetta is another one that should be much bigger than it is. And unfortunately, it's locked away to Nintendo, and it's the wrong system for that type of game. It's the wrong system.
Oh, and by the way, guys, if you're playing Hogwarts Legacy on PC, you can get a gun to replace your wand.
Oh my god! They already modded in a gun. Oh my god!
Oh, and it's hilarious. Anyway, that's
what kind of gun is it? Is it laser or is it a flintlock? Or
no, it's like a 9mm. It's like a 9mm.
Oh god! They even went that route. Come on, give me like an old school look. Give me like a flintlock musket, like or something.
Nah, you need to
like Fable. Fable.
They gave you. You stupid.
What Fable? They did. It matched. It worked. It was cool. Kind of go back and play Fable.
Fable was a good time. Also, Atomic Heart details were released this week. As far as performance goes, Atomic Heart is set to release February 21st of 2023. We will end up mentioning that when it comes around the upcoming games. But I was actually quite impressed by this also. Xbox Series X is going to be dynamic 4K 60 FPS. We're probably going to be more so 1440 upscale to 4K, something like that. Then Xbox Series S is going to be 1080p 60 FPS, which is dope. That's good to see. Again, I thought 60 FPS can't be done on Series S. I know this isn't an I know it's not an open world game.
Semi-open world.
But there's a lot going on in this game. A lot of attention to detail too. PS5 is going to have dynamic 4K 60 FPS also. No ray tracing on consoles for now. Again,
not worried about it.
No field of view slider, but has a wide field of view already, which is important. I do think that we need to get away from the standard close-up field of view.
Hogwarts does have that
on PC. I don't know if they gave it to you guys.
No, we don't get it on console.
Yeah, so like what you're seeing now is my max additional field of view that I can add. But yeah, I do. The field of view on Hogwarts is kind of, again, it's definitely more so along the lines of a third person over the shoulder action adventure game. It definitely has a lot of those roots in it, and you could tell that's probably the reason why they were able to optimize it as well as they could, because of that. So I don't know if that option is going to end up becoming available in the future. Because I could just tell if I was able to pull my character even further out, especially in the castle, where, speaking of ray tracing on Atomic Heart, I speak a little bit of the ray tracing on Hogwarts too, where ray tracing can be impressive and it is very pretty. It definitely is, and Hogwarts Legacy is definitely an example of how it can be used well and done very well also. But my God, is it another example of why we just don't need it right now? Like, guys, like even at 1080p, ultra settings, ray tracing set to, I've played with it at every level, ultra, high, medium. As pretty as it is, once you start moving around, it dropping down to 15, 10 frames because of how much like visual fidelity that it's trying to trying to give you, it's not worth. Not when you can have ultra everything without ray tracing, it running smooth as butter, 60 FPS, way beyond plus, and you're still getting a good quality game, right? I would take that versus having the ray tracing implemented, but not seeing ray tracing in Atomic Heart as much as it's going to be some people will say, oh, well, look at these consoles not doing what they were advertised for. I don't think it's going to end up needing it at the end of the day. And if they do end up adding it in an option, I know because they are saying for now, if they do end up adding an option for 4K 30, then great. I do think that a lot of the animation, a lot of the what makes this game unique would be taken away if they made it to 30, just because of how they have made the gameplay loop, from what I can tell. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. This is definitely going to be another one of those where I think it's going to be a for sure looker on PC. I'm going to boot it up. If it's running this well on the consoles, I do want to see how well it's going to end up running on PC. Just to really try to bring out some of the ray tracing potentially. Because some of the robots and things, to see how what the reflection is going to be on them, especially when they're in your face, that's going to be kind of crazy to see. This also supposedly going to be a 20 to 25 hour campaign. If you're a completionist, it's going to take up about 40 hours. It's going to be 3 difficulty levels. You know I'm going to be playing on hard. It's probably easy, normal, and hard. There's going to be 12 types of weapons, so not too much variety, but enough to really have your own kind of,
and you can mod those weapons. You can mod those weapons too.
Which that's also really dope. In first-person shooter games, I typically go for maybe 2, 3 main weapons that I like to use. So to know there's going to be 12, at least there's going to be some variety there. Plenty of dialogue options. That kind of lets me know that there's going to be a difference in people's stories potentially, hopefully, especially with this being more single-player focused and a lot of different avenues they could take it. And then the AI companion offers info about the game world and performs various functions. So it's kind of like a what's the robot's name from?
Where you going? Where you going?
From Star Wars.
R2D2? C3PO?
No, for the one for Cal.
Oh
B2?
God. Is it B2?
Something like that. I don't. It's not.
I don't remember.
I want to bring that up because I'm thinking about 2B right now.
Yeah, 2B.
That's not what.
No, that's not 2B. No. I don't remember what the name is, but
either way, we've had companions in our in game.
We've had companions a lot.
So that's interesting to see how that's going to end up.
Munfish is, I hope, the best for this game. Obviously, I've been hyped for it since I first saw it. It's got so many aesthetics that remind me of BioShock and such. And to hear that it's 25 to 30 hours still, I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised by that.
They're going to be shorter?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be shorter. I thought it was going to be... Huh?
BA. Tim the Sorcerer. BD1. Thank you,
BD1. There we go. BD1. Thank you, Dragonheart. Legend. I was excited to hear that because I was thinking like 10, 15 hours. To hear 25, 30, and knowing myself with exploration and checking things out, that's a 40+ hour game, easy for me, right? So if I do finish it, but I'm excited for Mudfish. I want this Mudfish. Excuse me, did I say Mudfish? Mudfish. For all the drama behind this too, because there's a group of people trying to cancel this game out there. Same kind of nonsense. Again, I want them to knock this out of the park because a lot of people have doubted this game. Remember, Steel, there was a bunch of smoke out there. There's trouble, blah, blah, blah. It's not turning out.
Keep seeing
again,
gameplay, and it looks exactly the way they keep demonstrating.
yeah, exactly. Trust what you're seeing here, folks. But I think Jez was alluding to the fact because again, he didn't name Atomic Heart, but he did say that he had 3 or more games right now that he's checking out. So again, if it's Wolong, Wild Hearts, and the third one most likely would be Atomic Heart in there, and that he was impressed with all of them. If this game does come out and hit, this studio has a big future because again, this is a studio not known for big games. Steel, they're taking a big leap here into some kind of uncharted territory for them, and if they pull this off, like Avalanche did, man, Steel, we got another studio we got to keep our eyes on in the future. Atomic Heart was looking great. Comes out the 21st into Game Pass for everybody who knows. Obviously, again, no risk. Download it, check it out. I'm going to for sure. This is day one for me. And I'm excited still because I wanted a game that is in that BioShock kind of lineage. And we got news this week about Judas, Ken Levine's new game, the spiritual successor to BioShock, of course, that we saw at the Game Awards, which looked absolutely freaking phenomenal. But we got word this week that Judas shot at the gas.
Yeah, he said delay Pong Soul.
Oh God. I've been delayed for a long time, sir. Let's see here. But Judas, we got word this week that the release window is now anytime between now and March of 2025, I believe it was, Steel. So we got a while.
That's a large margin.
Yeah, we got a while. Let's just put it that way. We got a while before we see Judas. So I've been looking for that BioShock-esque type game. And I'm not saying this game is going to be BioShock because they've already said the narrative is lighter. But I don't care. I just think the aesthetic works so well in this kind of, futuristic 60s Russia where they kind of are the power. I think this could come off very special, and I think this is another big game for 2023.
Yeah.
And it's going to be again coming to Game Pass. Steel. Game Pass is already going to pay off itself by the time we get to March.
Hey, look, and you got to make that own determination too, whether you agree with that or not. I mean, I definitely agree with that.
I'm always talking about me.
Yeah, and I mean, again, and I just want to put it out there for the people because a lot of people are going to try to or are going to downplay it. And they are going to try to compare it to other games. They are going to say, oh, well, it's not this and this. And again, everybody's going to have a preference. And I've said this for a long time, and I'm going to continue to say, well, I've been saying this since last year because it's how I felt. And it's just how I look at games overall. But I'm going to continue to say it here. It's not just about first party anymore. Guys, sure, you can say exclusive sell consoles, and that's great, and they do. But it doesn't have to be just exclusives. This is going to be the year where I'm going to pound into the people's head that
you're going to pound people.
Yeah, I'm going to pound them out.
Wow, pause.
This is going to be the year that I pound into people's dome that we don't need to think about games the way we've always tried to traditionally think about them. It doesn't need to be the case anymore, and it hasn't been the case for a while. You can't come out and say, oh, the way we're doing things isn't enough, and then still try to do things the same way. It doesn't work. Again, and Game Pass still hasn't proven itself, right? Game Pass could die within the next year. They could spend all this money to get all this content in here, and it just doesn't work. I don't see that happening. I can see more people jumping into the ecosystem. Whether Xbox gets Activision or Blizzard or not, I still think that they're going to cut deals to make sure that their player base has a perceived value. And Xbox has to continue to make sure that they are hitting that perceived value at least every 90 days. Yeah. Every 3 months, you have to give the people something to open conversation up. You can't be, hey, at RWK, I'm not, hey, you don't judge me. I didn't say we had to pound dudes. I said people. All right now. K Sante, what's going on?
Whatever floats your boat.
Hey,
Don't
man,
worry
whatever,
about it.
whatever
No
you're
judgment
into,
here.
whatever you're into, man.
No
Whatever.
judgment here.
Hey, I'll take my shirt off too if you need me to. I got a hairy chest shirt.
Whoa.
No, we're not gonna turn into that type of show.
You can do that at a different show.
Okay. I'll do it on my channel. You guys come check out. I got like 50 subscribers right now on my personal channel because I don't use it.
But still, I will say for Game Pass though, Microsoft does need to show some growth to continue this, right? I again, as a business, they can't keep making these deals for third party if they're not seeing the growth. And obviously the growth they're expecting from first party, right? That those AAA games are going to be the big some of it. And I understand what you're saying, Steel, right? Obviously, if they got a lifetime deal for Call of Duty to be in Game Pass every year, of course, that would work. But there's not too many games that are going to give you that momentum. Your first party AAA games that give your ecosystem an identity is still going to be the one that kind of helps you see a little bit of, not even a little bit. Starfield could be explosive growth for Game Pass, but you need that consistency, not only from the third party titles dropping in there, but from your first party. It's got to be a team effort, but they got to see this subscription base grow in order to justify continuing to make these deals for the third party titles that we all love to see. Right. Like they're starting off hot this year, right? They're starting off really hot. Wolong, right? Out the gate. You got Atomic Heart out the gate right away. Big time games, but they need those first party titles in there as well. They still are important, right? And I think Starfield is going to be obviously the one that everybody's waiting on. Starfield's going to be the big one. So it's got to hit.
And we'll see.
They did announce, Steel, just while we're here. Because they finally came out with a Game Pass announcement, right? Yeah. So Madden dropped in there already, which we know. SD Gundam Battle Alliance dropped in there, which I did download, Steel, by the way. I'm going to check it out. SD Gundam Battle Alliance dropped in there. Then on the 14th, Mountain Blade Bannerlord, which I was going to buy, Steel, and it's dropping into Game Pass. So that's good for me. That's a $50 game. So Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord is dropping in there 14th. City Skylines Remastered, again for you city builders out there, coming to 15th. Shadow Warrior 3, which we talked about in upcoming releases, is the 16th. That's the definitive edition as well. So it's going to have the current gen patch on it. Fantastic. I can't wait to jump into that. And then the 21st is Atomic Heart. That's a hell of a lineup for Game Pass. And again, not everybody's going to be interested in that. Not everybody's a grazer like me. Not everybody plays all types of games. But legitimately, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 games out of there. 5 if you throw in Madden that I'm going to hop into at some point, So, again, your conversation about the value of Game Pass, we've had ups and downs with that, especially last year. But this year, the way they're starting off is gigantic. You can't say enough about it. But is the word out there enough to get people in?
It's not, and that's what we need to do is keep driving home, right? Certain games can definitely start that conversation and move it in the right direction, but it's also up to Xbox to make sure that it is starts becoming more widely known, right? Getting the proper messages across, giving people good information, and just continues to go from there. Consistency, right?
Marketing.
The fact that even Madden and MLB, for an example, are starting to come into Game Pass, that's already going to be a lot of an easy way for a lot of people to jump in who maybe only play those things. $15, I'm not sure if I want to play this next Madden. Boom, jump in. $10 to jump in, and then you play it and find out whether you want to play it or not.
I wish they would get that Madden in there earlier, though, Steel. At the end of the year, right before the Super Bowl, is not good. Most people who are going to play Madden have played Madden, right?
Yeah, for the most part, and that's something that they got to work out with EA.
I wish they got it in within I wish they got it in before the new year. I wish they would get it in towards that November timeframe, December timeframe, right? Cut a deal with EA. I think it would make sense for EA since they make most of their money off Ultimate Team, anyways. I don't know why EA. I figured by now they would be dropping Madden in there sooner rather than later. Yeah, all sports games. Well, again, sports games should be games as a service. They should be free to play, and then they charge you for the download packs. That's where it should be, but it's not. But I just think Madden would benefit if it got it in there earlier. But it's still a great opportunity. Again, I'll hop into Madden at some point. I played the 10-hour trial on it, but I'll hop back into it just to fool around with a little bit. But other than that, again, we did get another announcement too this week, Steel, for Game Pass. Out of the Chinese, there was a Chinese showcase this week, which not a whole lot of news came out of, but Sword and Fairy 7, which is a Eastern flavored Chinese RPG that, you know, they dropped, I believe they dropped the last one into Xbox as well, not Game Pass, but they dropped it into Xbox as well, so you could purchase the last one and the new one. Well, that new one is number 7. It's been out for, I think, like 3 or 4 months now. Well, out of the Chinese show, they announced that Sword and Fairy is coming this summer to Game Pass. So you're going to have an opportunity to jump into an Eastern style RPG. So obviously Microsoft is going out there and cutting deals. They're making deals all over the place. Again, I like to see some more from the East, not miss out on the Stellar Blades and all those kind of ones. But this is another move in the right direction. So Game Pass is definitely full this year so far. And we're getting first party this year, which is great.
Yeah, we definitely are. Well. Where would you like to go now? Well, what part of the conversation do we need to move into? Is there any other important topics that you feel like we need to cover here?
ABK stuff. We're going to talk a little ABK nonsense because things are getting fiery over on the FTC side. We got the CMA came out this week and obviously gave, as expected, gave their list of objections to the deal. Microsoft has a couple weeks here to respond. I believe the first week, I want to say, of March is when their initial responses are due with remedies, which again, this all set off a round of interviews, not only from Satya, but good old Bobby Kotick. Everybody's favorite Bobby Kotick was out here talking and doing interviews. God, he's such a snake, dude. He's such a snake. You know, when I look at him, Steel, and I watch him in interviews, you know what I picture him? What? I picture him back in the old days wearing one of those freaking wigs like the judges did over in the UK, you know? One of those old curly wigs. That's exactly what he looks like, bro. That's exactly what he looks like. He's such a snake. He's just oh, God. Anyways, so we got interviews. Bobby Kotick said that UK will become Death Valley if they don't let this deal go through. Not Silicon Valley, but Death Valley, because businesses, tech companies especially, will be much more inclined to not do business there, knowing that they're going to have problems with regulators. So we had him out there doing that. We had Satya saying that maybe the regulators should look at Xbox's position in Japan as an indicator of where they are strength-wise within the industry, that the Japan numbers show that they're weak. What else do we have this week? Oh, we had Sony refusing to provide documents because we know Microsoft and the FTC both subpoenaed Sony for documents. Microsoft also subpoenaed Nintendo this week, also subpoenaed Google as well. But Sony's refusing to comply. What are you laughing at? What's going on in the chat?
Maybe we should look at that.
Just nothing. I'm over here playing. Satya saying maybe you should look at that.
Yeah, maybe you should look at that. Yeah.
No, I mean that's a lot of the points that have been brought up. I don't think are necessarily anything outside of what we've spoken on before. As far as how, because at least for us, I know I've been on the standpoint that that the deal's going through. Nothing has to question it. There's nothing. A lot of this is just political pandering to where they're just trying to look a certain way. And there's already been concessions made that they also came to acknowledge and said that they haven't looked at yet. So again, this is all part of the process. I still don't think that I think the one thing that this does is continuously paint that the industry has been left to its own devices for quite some time. And now that people are looking at it, I am glad that Microsoft is kind of at the forefront. And I'm more so glad just because I have faith that, and again, you can take this as you want. I have faith that Microsoft is going to end up and is doing what's right for the industry currently by giving their players more accessibility and trying to go the way of options, where the rest of the industry is trying to move against that. And I do believe that the biggest reason that they're trying to move against it is because this is going to allow devs across the industry to grow in a more healthier manner, right? Not being able to take advantage of as many people as you were able to previously, not be able to basically, and crunch is always going to be in conversation. And I mean, again, you gotta put in that 50 hours a week sometimes. You gotta go and put those extra hours outside of your 40 in to get where you want to go, or just to get things done on time. If you have a true deadline, that's just a reality of life. And of course, there are always going to be things done better, but there's always going to be a limitation to some things. And if we want to continue to have true creatives behind this art that we appreciate, and not have it so mechanically driven or AI driven per se, then I think that Microsoft fighting for this is going to be the right decision. And with all the news that we continuously get, whether it be from Satya or whether it be from Phil, and their confidence about the deal, I think the rest of it on the outside is just nonsense. Because at the end of the day, currently, the only thing that Activision Blizzard has to stand on is Call of Duty. And if you want to use World of Warcraft, I guess you could. And everything else could be looked at in the future if it needs to be, right?
The problem though, Steel, is the CMA is now one good thing that came out of the CMA objections this week. We'll start with the good thing, was that Game Pass is no longer in question, right? They removed the Game Pass dominance, the subscription service dominance.
That's not fact.
From the equation. True. Right. But they did keep the cloud dominance. They're trying to project out where cloud gaming goes. And in their statement, they still have the misconception, and I don't know how this is possible, because we know that there's been a ton of educating going on from Microsoft about the industry to these people. But somehow in their documents, they still made mention that UK consumers are going to be required to buy an expensive piece of hardware to play cloud gaming on.
It's an option.
What?
Nobody's forcing you to have to do certain things.
You don't need a console to cloud game. That's the whole point of cloud gaming, is accessibility from wherever you're at. But somehow that still is in the documentation, so it seems like there's still a lot of misunderstanding. And the CMA's remedies that they propose are all structural, right? They want Microsoft to divest themselves of the Call of Duty IP as one option. Like, how does that work? How does that even look? They said, well, you can go ahead and you can go ahead and sell off the Activision division, or you can sell off the Activision and Blizzard division and just keep King. Like, these are structural remedies, and this is not abnormal for the CMA. Luke Steele, who's an attorney over in the UK, who deals directly with the CMA, has actually gone up against the CMA before with regulations, said that to him. And again, we have to put some validity in his perspective because he works directly over there with them. So, I mean, again, it's fair. He says this has a slim chance of going through because when the CMA puts out remedies, they want structural remedies. They can say all they want. Well, we'll listen to behavioral remedies, which is the other side, which is what Microsoft is going to propose. But to Luke's point, he says the CMA, that's all just, he says they have to say that according to their rules over there. They have to say that they're open to it. But in all reality, they're not open to behavioral remedies, that they want structural remedies. So he thinks that this has a small chance of clearing. Now, again, Michael Pachter and another analyst from Wedbush came out this week and said to them, this is a sign that the CMA is leaning towards approving this with behavioral remedies, because they could have just come out and flat out said, we object to this completely, but they didn't do that. Now, who's right and who's wrong here? I guess we'll find out. But we're getting closer to this. But I think that the bigger question here, Steele, is, and I think the most interesting part, because we've talked about all this for so long, and we've talked about this possibility. We knew this was kind of coming down the road. People acting shocked this week or trying to spin this as if the CMA has already blocked this deal. Again, I don't know how people don't understand more about this deal at this point. So much information has been put out there for everybody. This was always going to be a part of the process. This was always going to happen. This is what Microsoft was waiting for. They're trying to get the EC which is the EU regulators, and the CMA's objections all together in one and offer remedies to both of them at the same time. Microsoft flat out came out and said this is what they wanted to do. So we knew this was going to happen. The bigger question is, during the Bobby Kotick interview, especially Steel, he flat out said Sony's not taking our calls anymore. That this would be normally the time we're talking about deals up, down the future road, obviously for Call of Duty marketing and all that kind of stuff. And Sony's refusing to take their calls. How many bridges has Sony burned, Steel? How much of the rest of the industry, like you said now, Steel, you said that as one of your points, this industry has flown underneath the radar for so long. Now the regulators are up in this business.
Yeah.
And they're getting an education. And you said it's good that Microsoft is kind of leading this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But we can also say that Sony's been leading the conversation and the regulators have taken a lot of Sony's side to things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But how much of the rest of the industry is sitting back going, shut the fuck up, Sony? What are you doing? We've been cool. This is a dynamic industry. It's constantly changing. Things are happening. And that's due to the fact that the governments haven't stepped into our industry like they have elsewhere. The last time we saw the government involvement like this was probably back during the ratings period when we went through the whole ratings thing for video games. So how much of the rest of the industry is going, Sony, what the heck? Sony's opened up Pandora's box here, Steel.
Yeah.
They themselves might win this battle, as I said last night. They might win the battle, but they could have started a war now by opening up Pandora's box and by inviting the regulators in, by causing such an uproar over this acquisition. We always knew the regulators were going to look at this deal. It's $70 billion. It's the biggest deal in Microsoft history. Of course they're going to look at this deal. But because Sony has been the loudest of the bunch to come out against it, how much have they burned bridge-wise? I know there's people out there that believe that money talks and bullshit walks, which is true, especially in business. I get that fact. But if Sony is ignoring Activision's calls right now, they are costing Activision shareholders millions of dollars here if this deal does not go through. Does Sony honestly think that Activision is just going to turn around, let bygones be bygones, and say, hey, we know you screwed over our deal with Microsoft, but, hey, let's talk about marketing rights for Call of Duty again? Or is we seeing the turning of the tide right here that even if the deal doesn't go through, Microsoft's going to step right in and be like, give us those marketing rights. We'll pay you guys big money. We'll get those marketing rights back for Call of Duty. Let's move forward. Let's try to keep you guys in business longer because we know the stocks for Activision Blizzard are going to take a massive tumble if this deal doesn't go through. It's going to be a problem. Is Sony going to be looked at completely different now, Steel? Have they done themselves a gigantic disservice? Even though they may still be, the most powerful force in this industry and be able to cut special deals with people, is there going to be more third parties that turn around, look at Sony and go, no, you've brought down a shitstorm on us. Now the regulators are going to be up in our business. They might even turn around. The regulators might turn around to Sony and be like, hey, we got all that documentation from you during this whole thing. We don't like some of your practices. Some of your practices are kind of anti-consumer. Let's take a look at those. So what do you think the fallout of this is, Steel? Whether the deal goes through or not, what do you think the fallout is for Sony?
I mean, at least for Activision Blizzard, they're definitely going to be looked at a little sideways. And I mean, as far as overall, it's hard to say because I think they'll still be held to a certain at a high regard, regardless. I don't think it's going to really impact their business too much overall, unless it's directly dealing with Activision. Just because of how the market still currently sees PlayStation, they're going to continue. You can't deny the market leader unless something drastically changes within the next year or so. Which I don't know what it could be. Maybe Game Pass hits a phenomenal leap that like a Disney Plus reached when it hit 100 million subscribers in no time. Because that happened within less than a year that they ended up doing that. So it's just, there's many different things that could end up changing how the industry kind of treats other players. But currently, outside of Activision Blizzard, I don't think that anybody else cares. And it's just, for me...
But you do believe that they'll give Call of Duty marketing rights to Xbox, right?
I
if
mean,
this
at that
deal
point,
doesn't.
you would have to, unless
Yeah,
nobody else is going to offer you a bigger bag.
right.
I mean, and why would they? Again, and if there's anybody that you'd offer it to, you'd offer it to the ally that was trying to help you out through your situation, and will more than likely continue to try to help
Yeah,
facilitate. I mean, again, they can't change everything, and it would be terrible if Activision's left those devices, Bobby Kotick's left at the lead, and
which they've already come out and said will happen if the deal doesn't go. Bobby Kotick remains.
then they continue to rot from the inside out. Because
Right.
it can't be healthy for them to continue to put out games the way that they have. Again, if there's
Yeah.
any close to an inkling of anything, World of Warcraft should be able to show you that. I mean, again, there's no reason why there shouldn't be another iteration of that game, or a remastered version of that game that's available in other places. And Call of Duty currently being in the situation that it's in, then possibly making another game, trying to get out of the contractual agreements, possibly. There's so many different avenues that you'd have to consider. Uh, I don't know if it's going to impact anybody in the long run. What I do think what this will do, if it ends up being blocked, where I hope that Microsoft doubles down on the more aggressive approach, and does what they did to Apple back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And force them, and then force your competitor to have to sit down with you and say, hey, you want to continue to exist, right? Well, you do these things, and we'll continue to allow you to exist. And that is the main difference between, but on both sides. Sony is more traditional in the fact they want to kill the competition, and of course they both play nice with each other and do things that's going to support for each other in the long run anyway. But it's blatantly obvious that one side definitely sees their business strategies different than our American side does, right? Again, there's a lot that goes into it. And I want what's going to be for best for the human element also.
Yeah.
And if they continue to ignore that, and also continue to ignore the consumer side of things, because by not understanding how the industry truly works currently, unless they have some information that I don't have, you need to prove it to me. And again, I know they don't do it for the people. They're supposed to be, though, which is going to be the stem of my issue.
Right. So Sony, I think they burned the bridge for sure with Activision Blizzard. I think they're going to be looked at differently, especially if the regulatory bodies start messing around with this industry. Sony's going to be the one that's blamed at the end of the day, for bringing this hellfire down on the industry. And I don't want to see that happen, because this industry is still growing. As Strauss, over at 2K said, another 20 years of growth or so. I don't want to see this industry messed with. I love the dynamic nature of it. Anything can change. Companies rise and fall in this industry all the time. Games rise and fall in this industry all the time. And I think that is great for competition. That is great for us as gamers. It's great for the devs, and I don't want to see it messed with. But I think the Activision Blizzard for sure will turn around and start cutting deals with Microsoft. I don't think what we all want to see happen is that if this deal falls through, that the 60 billion, 65 billion left over after they pay out what they have to pay out to Activision Blizzard will be used strictly for gaming. I think Microsoft, I want to see that happen, but I don't think it's going to. I think Microsoft will pivot. They will have to make their mark, because Phil came out himself and said that if mobile is such a big piece of this is why they want King so badly, that mobile is such a big part of it, that without mobile, that Xbox's ecosystem is not tenable, right? It's without a mobile sector. That's a big part of their goals down the road. So they will have to pivot, and they will have to go find a way to make their mark in the mobile side of things, Steel. So they're going to have to start looking at some mobile only companies. And there's not a whole lot of big ones out there, right? So that's going to be their pivot move. But I do hope that a portion of this money is used aggressively against, or I should say not directly against, but with the same tactics that Sony currently is using. I hope they do go out and buy exclusivity for big titles. I do hope that they go cut some deals where they get that content that can't be found anywhere else, because that is what they're going to be told if this deal does not go through. That's what they're going to be told is the acceptable manner of which you can operate your business right now within this industry. And I think that they do need to pivot. As much as Phil hates it and he's come out against it, they need to go get that licensed IP, Steel. They need to go get that Marvel IP. They need to go cut those deals that Sony's been doing. They need to find studios that will work with that IP like Sony did with Insomniac, and they need to run that game because that's what they're being told has to be done. So go do it. It's going to be interesting, Steel. It's going to be interesting no matter what happens. Again, does the game industry move forward, whether this deal goes on or not? Yes.
Yeah.
Is Activision Blizzard and the human side, like you said, Steel, going to be affected? Yeah, I do believe it. I believe we're going to see Activision trim. I definitely see a problem that there's going to be job cuts at Activision Blizzard if this deal does not go through. Whole developers could be closed down or absorbed in. I definitely don't think this is not going to cause some bloodshed if this game or if this deal does not go through. So I don't want to see that happen. I want to see them in the best position possible to succeed. And without Xbox, they're going to be in a tough spot. So going to be interesting, but we're coming ahead here. We're a couple months away from getting a very clear picture of where this is going, one way or the other. So yeah. We're close. We're close to the end, everybody. We really are, in some form or fashion, at least partially. So,
yeah, I think so. And I think things will end up working out for us. Well, and that's all I had on my list of things that to jump into today. Was there anything additionally that you'd like to jump into, speak on, as we get to the winding down section and get ready for our This Day in Gaming?
No, I think I'm good, Steel. I mean, I think we covered everything that we came here to cover today. Okay. I'm trying to quickly look and see if there was anything else. I don't think so. I think we did it. Everybody, too, be aware for all of you. This kind of got missed because all the news and not everybody pays attention like we do. But I did want to shout this out real quick because I know a lot of you have the same type of interest and passion for the industry. And we talk about this all the time, Steel, getting a behind the scenes look of how devs work, right? So Double Fine, of course, shout out to Tim Schafer, whole team over there. One of the most creative one of the most creative led studios you will ever find in this industry. Double Fine during their whole process of making Psychonauts 2 had a documentary team come in, take thousands of hours of video, and they now have released a 32 episode behind the scenes look at Double Fine and the making of Psychonauts 2. So if you have an interest in that side of things, and if you want to get a behind the scenes look at how the magic happens, it just dropped the other day. They just put it out yesterday. They put out the link. You can find the link at Double Fine. In fact, I'll go here and drop the link in. But you can watch the entire series on YouTube for that behind the scenes look, man. So I'm definitely interested. I'm definitely going to be watching this. And if any of you have a chance, go check this out. I'll drop the link in the chat right now. Let me get back to our chat. And but yeah, I just wanted to make mention of that, Steel, real quick. So Double Fine doing the work for us and letting us see the magic behind the curtain. I just dropped the link in there for everybody.
And that's perfect. No, that's super fire because there's a lot of that a lot of people aren't familiar with. And when they talk about the industry or pretend like they care, they miss a lot of what happens behind the scenes. Like if you haven't also watched the Xbox On documentary, it's another good one to watch. You get that peek behind the curtain, man. Sometimes you don't need to have worked in the industry to have some type of semblance of understanding of how some things may work. It kind of just put together your own ECP and an educated consumer perspective. That's all you can go based off of, man. But stuff like that is super dope. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is time for your This Day in Gaming segment, where we go back 30 plus years in gaming history, so you can have some remembrance of where you were to what you are, where you're at today. Again, gaming is art, should be treated as such. I've been hitting at that all throughout today's episode again, because it is something that I truly believe, but it is always fascinating to see where things have been and the quality of games that we're getting today.
Just make me feel old, Steel. Come on.
And Pong just wants to feel old, so
That's what it's all about.
There's that. We only do this to make Pong feel old. Of course it's not, but that's what he believes. It's okay. We'll run with that. All right. So this day in gaming, we are starting in 1990. And we're starting with the NES, actually. And that's going to be with Dragon Quest IV on the NES that released in Japan. Then we move forward quite a bit. We go into 1998 with Xenogears releasing on PlayStation in Japan.
Awesome. Shout out to Xeno.
Then we move on a little bit to another one of those that people like. I don't know about so much, but Final Fantasy VIII was released in 1999 on PlayStation. Not a Final Fantasy.
Yep.
Then we moved to 2001, where you had Dracula, the Last Sanctuary, released on Macintosh and PC.
Mac. Good old Mac. Nice.
Then in 2002, you had High Heat Major League Baseball 2003, released on PlayStation 2.
Great title.
That was actually
I love that title, man. Yeah.
Then in 2002, you had Maximo Ghosts to Glory released on PlayStation.
Yep. Ghosts of Goblins, right? Rip off, kind of. No, Maximo was that character for Ghosts of Goblins? I always forget. Anyways, yeah.
3D platform, but yeah.
Yeah.
Then in 2002, you also had Star Wars Racer Revenge on PlayStation 2. What a fucking great game. That was a great game.
There was some good stuff back in the day. Hit or miss back in the day with licensed IP. More miss, but there was some classics in there that people undervalued. For sure.
Then in 2003, you had GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox release Vex. Vex was actually a pretty decent game. Shout out to Vex.
Yep.
Then in 2003, you had Walt Disney's The Jungle Book released on the Game Boy Advance. Shout out to that.
Yep.
Then in 2004, you had Lupin the Third, Treasure of the Sorcerer King, released on PlayStation 2. All right. Not familiar with that one, but okay.
Nope.
Then in 2004, you had Samurai Warriors released on PlayStation 2. That was
always.
Not the PlayStation.
I love. Shout out to Samurai Warriors.
All right. Then in 2004, Spellforce The Order of Dawn released on PC.
Again, go check out Spellforce 3 on Xbox if you're looking for a great strategy, older style CRPG with RTS also included in it. It is a great game. I got to get back to it at some point here, but Spellforce still kicking, dropping DLC too. Spellforce I was pleasantly surprised. So good stuff.
Then in 2009, you had Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story release on DS.
Sure.
Then in 2010, you had Dragon Ball Origins 2 released on DS.
It wouldn't be a This Day in Gaming without a Dragon Ball.
Doesn't seem like it.
It happens all the time.
Then in 2010, you had SOCOM U.S. Navy SEALs Fireteam Bravo 3 released on the PSP.
Oh, shout out to SOCOM, man. That wasn't a good iteration. I'll say that on PSP. It wasn't great by any stretch of imagination, but I would love SOCOM, man. Great memories playing SOCOM. Great memories. Fantastic.
Then in 2010, you had Tennis no Oji-sama Motu Gaku Insei no Oji-sama More Sweet Edition released on the Nintendo DS.
Oh, is that the longest one yet? Do that again, Steel. Come on. One more time for the crowd.
Just in case you guys were confused.
All right, everybody listen up. Let's do this.
Tennis no Oji-sama Moto Goku Insai no Oji-sama More Sweet Edition.
Oh, Damn, that's a
case-
mouthful
in
right
case
there.
you wanted to go find where that game is at.
Wow.
Shout out to
I don't know
that.
how you looked that up.
Hey.
I don't know where to start.
It was on the DS. It might be in the store right now on the Switch. Then in 2013, you had Aliens Colonial Marines released on PC. That was a fucking good game. Fucking creepy as fuck, but good game. Then in 2014, you had Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13 on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
Underappreciated Final Fantasies. Sure.
I've heard a lot of people say that, and I keep seeing this game like hint at me because I think it's still available on Game Pass. Having this game hint like fucking trying to reach out and grab me.
Yep.
Although it's turn-based.
It is.
Then in 2015, you had Samurai Warriors 4 2 released on PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation Vita.
Yep.
And it goes some more Samurai Warriors.
I like Samurai Warriors better than Dynasty Warriors. Samurai Warriors was always the better franchise to me. Yep.
Then in 2016, you had Koru Korurin released on Game Boy Advanced.
That's light work for you after that other one, man.
Yeah, it got to be at that point. Then in 2020, you had Detective Superstar released on Android.
Okay. Superstar.
That's a detective. Then in 2020, you had Pokemon Home released for Android, iOS, and Nintendo Switch. Pokemon Home is essentially what they use to like transfer Pokemon to different games stuff now. Whatever. It's great for people who have invested into it, and I think it's a kind of a cheap. Whatever. Shout out to Pokemon Home. Then in 2021, Little Nightmares 2 was released on the Nintendo Switch, PC, PlayStation 4, Stadia, and Xbox One.
I haven't played it yet. I started playing Little Nightmares 1, loved it, loved the aesthetic, beautiful game, gorgeous game. Little Nightmares 2, I heard, is just more of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Then in 2022, you had Leap of Faith released on Linux and PC.
Shout out to Linux.
Yeah, shout out to that. Looks like a sexy time game.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it looks like
Leap of Faith.
Leap of Faith. It says, having spent 2 years wondering why your girlfriend left your seemingly perfect relationship out of the blue, you finally decide to move forward. And while you're opening your eyes to the new world, it seems to be opening its eyes to you as well. Before long, you've connected with 6 different girls, all with their own stories to tell.
Ooh. Baby mamas everywhere. Let's go. Ooh. Should be called the Sean Kemp simulator.
Oh my God. Then in 2022, you had Lost Ark release on PC. Shout out to Lost Ark and its player base apparently dying for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But shows you that space is hard to make it into, man. Live service games are difficult to continue. And just keep consistent, man. And it's not available everywhere. That's the other problem. So, I mean, again, you keep releasing MMOs and these other online games and don't put them everywhere. I think you're just shooting yourself in the foot. But
if you don't have a full suite of all the expected content and mechanics that come with it, people are going to find out very quickly. They're going to run through your content extremely fast nowadays and then shout to the world that this is an empty game and there's not a whole lot left to do. And that's when you're going to lose your base completely.
1,000%, unfortunately.
Yep.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 91 of Living Splitscreen. Again, almost another 4 hours worth of pure gaming content right here, locked in, loaded, with the most live, raw, and uncut platform on these youth. No, I'm playing. But yeah, greatly appreciate you guys for tuning in today. Hopefully we had some great conversation that you was able to help you push through either the beginning of your day, the end of your day, the middle of your day, whenever you end up listening to this. Hopefully it was something to help you get those things done. And just also maybe a good conversation, hopeful industry kind of thoughts that we currently have from a consumer's perspective. And again, just appreciate everybody for being here today. And if you're listening to on the back end, on the audio side of things, we also greatly appreciate you all just for being consistent as ever. Again, that platform is growing steadily. surely but steadily. And again, I definitely expect for the show to be uploaded about an hour after I end the live show here for our audio listeners. With that being said, though, Pong, lead the people to victory and let them know where they can find you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What a day. What a way to start the Saturday, as always, with my brother, with all of you currently listening. Again, as Steel just said, if you are out there in the future listening back to this, maybe it's like 2035 and you somehow found Living Splitscreen episode 91. I hope we're playing some freaking ridiculous, awesome games then. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening in. This has been another great episode, and we appreciate every single one of you. Nothing but respect and love all the time to all of you. Again, you guys don't just show up here. You show up in all these other shows. I see the same names in other chats. I saw some new names again today, which is always fantastic. So shout out to all of you joining us for the first time. I hope you found it entertaining. Again, this is off the cuff, open conversation between two dudes who just have gamed a lot throughout their life and have big opinions about what's going on in the industry. That's all it is. Opinion-based, editorialized commentary based upon news articles and whatever else we find interesting within the community or anywhere else. So guess what? Love you. Thank you for being here. Listen, you know the drill. Pong Soul on Xbox. Pong Soul on Twitter. You can find me there. And then obviously you can find me tonight on the Shop podcast with PTK Blam. That is PTK Blam's channel. We don't have a guest announced, so I don't know if we're going to have a surprise or not, or if it's just going to be PTK, Fuzzy Belvedere, and myself. But no matter what, we have a great conversation, chill conversation every Saturday night. We talk about all types of topics. If we have extra time, we let the chat control the conversation and come up with topics. But no matter what, just come on by. Whatever you're doing, have us on in the background, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time, tonight. PTK Blam's channel, The Shop Podcast. And then again, of course, it starts next week. Double Barrel Gaming, Mr. Boomstick, Xbox Factor Podcast, where Steel shows up more often than I do now. But Steel...
Off and on.
No matter what, Boom has a great panel every Tuesday. It's all good things green there. 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. You know the quality. Again, Boom does this 5 days a week now. It's crazy. The dude's a robot, a machine. And then, of course, Thursday nights, it's PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM over on Fun Speculations channel. Another two-man show. We do have guests from time to time. But it's always a great time Thursday night where Mav and I catch up the same way that Steel and I do here. Like that's the way we have a similar show, but it's a fun time every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time, Fun Speculations channel, and then back at it, same place, Fun Speculations channel, Xbox Ultimate, Friday nights. We just had Lord Addict on last night, so go check that out if you haven't checked it out. We were talking a lot of good stuff. We laugh a lot over there, but we do talk a lot of gaming as well. 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, every Friday night, Fun Speculation channel, Xbox Ultimate show. Otherwise, folks, it's the golden age of gaming. 2023 is already proving this fact. There is so much to play, no matter where you're at, whatever you're playing on. It's a great time to be a gamer. So get out there this weekend, have a great rest of your weekend, play what you love what you play. I'm going to talk to you all real soon. Steel, give him your breakdown, brother.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, so you can find me everywhere. Steel Rain, the T is a 7. That's Steel Rain for short. And as long as you got a search bar, you'll more than likely find me. I frequent the streets of Twitter, Xbox ecosystem mainly at this point until, again, Sony gives me a reason to invest. Which I still haven't seen, but we shall see. They keep giving me content on PC, so I'm satisfied with that. But with that being said, yeah, let's chop it up. Hit me in the DMs. Again, I'm not one of those people that if you send me a message, I ain't gonna send you a message back. I will hit you up and let you know. I'm always appearing online because that's just how the PC ecosystem works, and I don't ever turn off my PC or purposely without a game bar just so I can not be online for people. So send me a message through. I send you a message back. You know I'm rocking and rolling, and I'm ready to chop it up. Other than that, hit me up in those Twitter DMs, and we could talk there. And yeah, man, probably going to be knee deep in this Hogwarts Legacy for quite some time. Let's see if Wants It Dead is able to impress. We'll see with that. And I don't know. I'm considering getting that one also, but I think I'm gonna finish I'm gonna finish. I'm trying to get back in line with staying enveloped in worlds once I dedicate some time to them. So
boring.
Yeah, it is what it is. To be all right.
Joking.
No, I don't care. But either way, much love. You guys stay safe out there. We'll catch you next week on episode 92 of Living Splitscreen. And again, guys, keep it live, raw, and uncut. We're in the age of accessibility. Things continue to grow and continue to get better also. And again, do not expect for people to think like you think. And people were not raised the same way you were and will never think the same way that you think.
And they don't have to.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
It will be, at least.
And Splendiferous, I do care, brother. I do care, Splend. Love you, brother. Thanks for dropping on in here.
Hey,
everybody.
Much love.
Google.
Y'all stay
Later.
safe, babe. Well, enjoy the rest of your Saturday and your weekend. Peace.
Later, Tim the Sorcerer.
Ow.
Bye.